moves to amend parliamentary party statute. Party President Lamichhane rules out cabinet reshuffle amid internal discussions. Khagaraj Bhatta secures majority support in Sudur Paschim Assembly. Karnali Chief Minister Shai prepares to seek confidence vote. Nepal's Jiri municipality closes schools as influenza cases rises. Health officials detect influenza in children across Dolka. US President Trump denies ongoing talks with Iran amid rising tensions. Iran keeps Strait of Hormuz closed. US maintains blockade. Pakistan government challenges order to move former PM Imran Khan. Law Minister rejects Supreme Court directions for hospital transfer. And the flame for 2026 Asian Games torch relay lit in Tokyo. The 20th Asian Games to officially open in Nagoya on September 19th. Good evening, I'm Sureksha Rajak and this is NTV World Primetime News. We are coming to you live from Kathmandu at 1900 hours Nepal time. Elsewhere, it's 13:15 in London, 22:15 in Tokyo and just after midnight in Sydney. Now the news in detail. The ruling Rashtriya Swatantra Party is preparing to amend its parliamentary party statute 2083 to improve parliamentary and government performance. An informal meeting of RSP lawmakers, ministers and senior leaders discussed parliamentary responsibilities, public concerns and weaknesses in government service delivery. A task force led by Chief Whip Kabindra Burlakoti will prepare proposed amendments and necessary procedures within 7 days. Meanwhile, RSP President Rabi Lamichhane has denied any dispute among ministers and ruled out an immediate cabinet reshuffle. He said internal discussions are part of the party's practice of reviving shortcomings and improving government performance. Lamichhane also said the government is monitoring cooking gas distribution and coordinating with local authorities and LPG dealers to ease ongoing supply problems. Sudur Paschim Province Chief Minister Khagaraj Bhatta has secured a vote of confidence from the Provincial Assembly. A total of 31 lawmakers voted in his favour, including 11 from CPN-UML and 20 from the CPN. 14 lawmakers from the Nepali Congress and 1 from the Rashtriya Prajatantra Party voted against him. The CPN support included lawmakers from the former Maoist Centre, Nagarik Unmukti Party and CPN Unified Socialist, while all 11 UML members backed Bhatt. The 53-member assembly currently has 51 active members, including 1 suspended lawmaker. With the confidence vote, Bhatta has secured a stronger political basis to run the provincial government. The ruling coalition partners, the Nepali Communist Party and CPN-UML, have finalized the allocation of ministries in Karnali province. The two parties reached an agreement on government formation and operations before Chief Minister Mangal Bahadur Shai seeks a vote of confidence. Under the agreement, the NCP will control the Chief Minister's office along with the ministries of Physical Infrastructure Development, Land Management, Agriculture and Cooperatives, and Industry, Tourism, Forest and Environment. The UML will take charge of the Ministry of Economic Affairs and Planning, Social Development and Water Resources and Energy Development. The delay in dividing ministries had stalled the expansion of the provincial cabinet. Shahi, who was appointed Chief Minister with UML support on August 12, is scheduled to seek a confidence vote today. Now moving on, the Koshi province government has appointed Internal Affairs and Law Minister Gombu Sherpa as a spokesperson for the provincial government. The decision was taken at the cabinet meeting held Wednesday at the office of the Chief Minister and Council of Ministers in Biratnagar. This comes after the formation of a new provincial government under an alliance between the CPN-UML and the CPN Maoist Centre. The provincial cabinet also decided to table the 7th annual report of the Provincial Public Service Commission in the Provincial Assembly. The cabinet has also decided to form 3 separate committees. CPN UML leader Kiran Thapa has staked a claim to become the Chief Minister of Bagmati Province. Thapa submitted his claim to provincial head Deepak Prasad Devkota under Article 168 of 2 of the Constitution. With the backing of 63 provincial lawmakers, the support includes 25 lawmakers from the UML, 26 from the Nepali Communist Party and 12 from the Rashtriya Prajatantra Party. Thapa said the three parties have agreed to form a coalition government and will finalize ministerial responsibilities through further discussions. He also said all 8 existing ministries will remain unchanged. Thapa is scheduled to take the oath of office tomorrow at 4 p.m. Let's take a short break here. We'll be back with more updates. Welcome back. You are watching NTV World Primetime News. Members of Nepal Council of Ministers have signed performance agreements with Prime Minister Balendra Shah for the current fiscal year. The agreements signed at Singha Darbar outlined major responsibilities and targets focused on good governance, social justice and prosperity, finance, foreign affairs, home, energy, law, health, education, tourism, agriculture and other ministries signed the agreements with the Prime Minister. Chief Secretary Govinda Bahadur Karki also signed a performance agreement with Prime Minister Shah. The agreements are aimed at setting clear targets and improving government performance throughout the fiscal year. Nepal's National Assembly has passed the proposal seeking consideration for sending bill relating to domestic air service liabilities 2083 to the Legislation Management Committee for clause-wise discussion. The bill tabled by Minister for Culture, Tourism and Civil Aviation Khadak Raj Paudel in today's National Assembly meeting was passed unopposed. Earlier, Foreign Minister Sisir Khanal, Minister for Law, Justice and Parliamentary Affairs Shobita Gautam and Tourism Minister Paudel responded to written queries of lawmakers regarding their respective ministries. The upper house will meet next at 1:15 p.m. on Friday. Schools in Ziri municipality Dolka have been closed for 3 days following a rise in influenza infections, particularly among children. The municipality has ordered all schools to remain closed until Bhadra 6 as a precaution against further transmission. Ziri Hospital has reported an increase in patients, while samples from 6 patients tested positive for influenza, according to Acting Medical Superintendent Dr. Anup Lamichhane. The hospital has also reported scrub typhus cases among some children. Authorities have urged the public to remain cautious as influenza spreads through coughing, sneezing and close contact with symptoms including fever, cough, sore throat and body aches. Nepal is set to observe World Mosquito Day by raising awareness about mosquito-borne diseases and prevention. Health officials warn that diseases such as dengue, malaria and Japanese encephalitis are spreading to wider areas as changing temperatures, rainfall and environmental conditions increase mosquito risk. Acting Director General of the Department of Health Services, Dr. Anuj Bhattachan says mosquito-borne diseases once concentrated in the Tarai have now reached almost all districts except Mustang. Dengue has become an established disease in Nepal, while Japanese encephalitis also remains a concern. Authorities say eliminating stagnant water and mosquito breeding sites remain the most effective way to prevent infections. Nepal's growing sugar shortage has prompted industrialists and distributors in the Sunsari-Morong industrial corridor to demand zero custom duty on sugar imports. They have also urged the government to seek 100,000 metric ton sugar quota from India as export restrictions push prices higher. Sugar now costs around 80 rupees per kilogram in India's Jogbani market, compared with 65 rupees a month ago, while prices in Nepal have reached about 110 rupees. Domestic sugar stocks have reportedly been exhausted, affecting industries such as biscuit and chocolate manufacturing. Nepal consumes about 300,000 metric tons of sugar annually, but produces only 200,000 tons. The government has revived its policy of making use of domestically produced goods mandatory across public entities. The draft National Supply Policy 2083 proposes prioritizing local products in public procurement, even if they cost up to 15% more than imports. However, stakeholders say weak domestic production, inconsistent supply quality concerns and price competition could hinder effective implementation. Savika Shrestha with Kamala Aryal brings more.
Nepal is going back to its roots, making domestic indigenous products mandatory in public sphere. The government has started implementing a provision requiring public bodies to mandatorily use domestically produced goods. However, stakeholders say putting the provision into practice remains challenging. Although the government has repeatedly introduced policies making the use of domestic products mandatory, such measures have failed to become effective in the past. The government has now revived the policy through the draft National Supply Policy 2026 prepared by the Ministry of Industry, Commerce and Supplies. However, stakeholders point out that previous attempts to implement the policy effectively failed due to inadequate production and quality, inconsistent supply of required goods, the inability of domestic products to compete with imported goods on price, easier access to foreign products during procurement and weak monitoring mechanisms.
गुणस्तरमा हामीले विकास नगरिकिन हामी बाहिर बजारमा प्रतिस्पर्धा गर्न त सक्दैनौँ उत्पादनहरू चाहिँ रेगुलर नहुने एउटा लट आयो त्यसपछि त्यो लट पछि अर्को लट चाहिँ नआउने अथवा त्यो आउनलाई धेरै समय कुर्नुपर्ने त्यसले गर्दाखेरि त्यो बजारमा चाहिँ भन्ने बित्तिकै सहज उपलब्ध पनि हुनु पर्यो त्यसको डेलिभरी राम्रो सिस्टम हुनु पर्यो त्यो चाहिँ प्रोफेसनलिज्म हाम्रो बजारमा अलिक कम छ अहिले बजारमा तपाईले विदेशबाट आयातित गार्मेन्ट हेर्नुस् त कति सस्तो छ त्योसित हाम्रो उद्योगहरू प्रतिस्पर्धा गर्न सक्दैन
सरकारी खरिद र स्वदेशी उत्पादनलाई स्पष्ट प्राथमिकतामा राखेको प्रावधानहरू छैन के उहाँहरू बाध्यता नै हुनुहुन्न तपाईको दोस्रो भनेको मेड इन नेपालको राष्ट्रिय ब्रान्ड र गुणस्तरको प्रमाणीकरण पनि अहिलेसम्म प्रभावकारी हुन सकेको छैन अब आयात प्रतिस्थापन गर्ने उद्योगलाई लक्षित वित्तीय नीति र करलाई चाहिँ प्रोत्साहन गरेर गर्नुपर्छ फेरि यो के छ भने तपाईको स्वदेशी उद्योगको उत्पादनहरूलाई सस्तो मात्रै बनाउने होइन हामीले गुणस्तरीय र प्रतिस्पर्धी बनाउने नीति
The draft policy states that all public bodies will be required to use domestically produced goods such as uniforms, furniture, furnishings, stationery and gifts, even if they are up to 15% more expensive than imported alternatives. The policy also includes provisions to encourage the consumption of domestic products and give priority to local products in public use and public procurement. The government believes this will provide relief to local entrepreneurs and micro, cottage and small-scale industries. The policy also seeks to establish a mechanism for setting minimum support prices and guaranteeing the purchase of local products to ensure producers receive fair prices. In addition, the government plans to upgrade laboratory and quarantine facilities at customs points to ensure that only quality goods are allowed to enter the country.
Now in the international front, U.S. President Donald Trump says no talks or discussions with Iran are currently underway or scheduled, contradicting his special envoy, Jared Kushner's claim a day earlier that contacts with parts of the Iranian government were more active than ever. Taking to this handle on Truth Social, President Trump made such statement. Trump has also posted a map on Truth Social labeling the strategically vital Strait of Hormuz as new U.S. territory while insisting the waterway is open. The U.S. naval blockade remains in force and mines have been cleared. Iran has maintained that the Strait of Hormuz will remain closed until Washington lifts its naval blockade and sanctions and fulfills other commitments under a memorandum of understanding. Qatar, which has played a mediating role, says an agreement between Iran and Oman on the strait could help revive stalled U.S.-Iran negotiations. Iran's top negotiator Mohammad Bagher Ghalibaf has visited the Baghdad site where Iranian commander Qasem Soleimani was killed in a 2020 U.S. strike, calling for stronger regional cooperation. Speaking during a visit to the memorial, Ghalibaf said Iran wants to help shape a new regional order without foreign interference.
رمضان قدرت مقاومت ایران را درک کردند. مقاومت در عراق هم یکی از عناصر قدرت این کشور است. با گذشت سالها گفتمان مقاومت از مرزهای ایران و عراق و منطقه فراتر رفته و جهانی شده است. سفر امروز ما به عراق هم در راستای تقویت نظم جدید در منطقه و سرعت بخشیدن به تقویت همکاری‌های فیمابین همه کشورهای منطقه بدون دخالت خارجی است.
Pakistan's government will challenge the Supreme Court's order to move jailed former Prime Minister Imran Khan to hospital for medical checks, the law minister said late on Tuesday.
सुप्रीम कोर्ट ऑफ पाकिस्तान ने सबक वज़ीर-ए-आज़म इमरान खान साहब के बारे में उनकी सेहत के हवाले से जो ऑर्डर जारी किया है उसके कुछ नकात जो है जो कि जेल अथॉरिटीज और इस्लामाबाद इंतजामिया से मुतल्लिका है कि उनका 2 रोज में मेडिकल चेकअप करवाया जाए शिफा इंटरनेशनल हॉस्पिटल से, उस पर मुशावरत हुई है और कानून का जायजा लेने के बाद अथॉरिटीज का ये ख्याल है कि ये ऑर्डर जो है ये कानून के उन 4 वॉल्स के अंदर नहीं है.
The Supreme Court has ordered authorities to facilitate Khan's transfer from prison for medical checks. The government's move sets up a fresh legal dispute over the treatment and custody of former Prime Minister. 1 person was killed and 7 others wounded after Russia drone strikes hit Zaporizhzhia in southern Ukraine overnight, according to Ukraine emergency services. The attacks triggered a fire on the 2nd floor of a hostel and set a furniture store ablaze, while the roof of a nearby apartment building was also damaged. Emergency crews were deployed to the affected areas as rescue and firefighting operations continued. Zaporizhzhia, a major city in southeastern Ukraine, has repeatedly come under Russian attacks since the war began. Meanwhile, Ukraine's ousted defense minister Mikhailo Fedorov is calling for elections despite the ongoing war with Russia, warning that Ukraine faces a crisis of governance. Fedorov says democracy cannot be held hostage by the war and urged authorities to find a legal and safe way to restore the electoral process.
Це складно. Потрібно забезпечити право голосу військових, мільйонів українців за кордоном, людей при фронтових регіонах. Потрібно забезпечити безпеку виборчого процесу, незалежність інституцій і довіру до результату. Але складність не означає неможливість. Україна вже багато разів робила те, що світ вважав неможливим. Ми можемо знайти рішення і в цій ситуації, бо демократія – це не розкіш мирного часу. Демократія – це частина того, за що ми сьогодні воюємо.
At least 9 people, including a child, were killed and 6 others injured after a fire broke out at a hotel in central Kolkata early Wednesday. The blaze erupted around 1:30 a.m. near Free School Street and New Market, trapping several guests inside the building before rescue teams evacuated survivors. Initial reports suggest a faulty air conditioner may have triggered the fire, but authorities have not yet established the exact cause. West Bengal government officials have raised concerns over hotels operating in buildings with inadequate fire safety arrangements and ordered scrutiny of such establishments. The victims reportedly included Bangladeshi nationals who had travelled to Kolkata for medical treatment. Let's take another short breather here. We will be back with more international and sports updates. The World Health Organization says the Ebola outbreak in Democratic Republic of Congo remains a public health emergency of international concern as cases continue to rise and the disease spreads into new areas. WHO says more than 5,000 confirmed cases and over 2,300 deaths have been reported across 6 provinces, making it the country's largest Ebola outbreak and one of the most serious ever recorded. The outbreak is being driven by Bundibugyo virus, for which there is currently no specifically approved vaccine or treatment, prompting trials of experimental vaccines and therapies. Authorities are also considering the use of licensed or Weibo vaccine, although its effectiveness against Bundibugyo Ebola has not yet been confirmed. WHO warns that the risk of further spread within the DRC remains very high, while neighboring Uganda, South Sudan and the Central African Republic face elevated risk because of cross-border population movement. Following opening arguments in the Meta trial in Auckland, California Attorney General Rob Bonta said in a press conference that Meta deliberately made Facebook and Instagram features addictive to children and knew that young social media users' mental health would suffer as a result.
That they knew their product was dangerous and they lied to the public. They lied to Congress. They told the public, they told the world that their product was safe, that it wasn't dangerous. And so their deception, their lies are at the core of our case. Meta's conduct is deceptive, it is dangerous, and as we make clear in our lawsuit, and as is most important in a court of law, it is illegal. The company had a legal, not to mention a moral, obligation to consider the safety of young users when designing their products.
Meta is facing a major federal trial in Oakland, California, where a coalition of 29 U.S. states accuses the company of deliberately designing Facebook and Instagram to be addictive to children and teenagers. China has successfully launched and recovered a reusable rocket, making a major step forward in the country's commercial space program. Images released by state broadcaster CCTV shows the Zhu-Q3 Y2 rocket developed by Chinese space startup Landspace, lifting off the Dongfeng Commercial Space Innovation Pilot Zone in northwestern China. The rocket was then successfully recovered in what Chinese authorities described as a first for the country's reusable spacecraft technology. Reusable rockets are designed to be flown more than once, potentially reducing the cost of space launches and making frequent missions more practical. The achievement highlights China's growing ambitions in the global space industry, where it's competing with established and emerging commercial space companies around the world. French astronaut Sophie Etonot has become the first French woman to perform a spacewalk after stepping outside the International Space Station with NASA astronaut Anil Menon. The 6.5-hour operation involves replacing a communications antenna used to connect the ISS with mission control in Houston. Etonot's spacewalk marks a historic milestone for France and comes as astronauts continue essential maintenance and upgrades aboard the orbiting laboratory. The mission highlights the international nature of the ISS, which brings together space agencies and astronauts from multiple countries. Italian scientists are turning to octopuses in an effort to control the invasive blue crab, which has caused major damage among the country's coast. Researchers involved in the OctoBlue project say experiments have shown that octopuses can prey on the blue crabs, which are a major threat to local marine ecosystems and fisheries. The initiative aims to use thousands of young octopuses as a natural predator to help contain the rapidly spreading species. Authorities say the blue crab has caused nearly 17 million euros in damage in Italy's Emilia-Romagna region since 2022. Scientists hope the approach could provide a more natural way of tackling the invasion while supporting affected coastal communities. Five-time Grammy Award winner Angelique Kidjo has become the first Black African to receive a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. The Beninese singer was honored during a ceremony in Los Angeles, recognizing her decades-long contribution to music and her global cultural influence. Kidjo said she was still unable to believe the honor, adding that seeing her star made the moment real. The distinction adds another milestone to the career of one of Africa's most internationally acclaimed musicians. Time for the sports updates. The flame for the 2026 Asian Games torch relay has been lit in Tokyo, marking the start of preparations for the continental sporting event in Japan. The 20th Asian Games will officially open in Nagoya on September 19th, with a torch relay beginning Saturday. Sprinter Keigyu Yoshihide lit the flame using the same cauldron used when Tokyo hosted the Asian Games in 1958, before it was handed over to Aichi Governor Omura Hideki. Flames will also be lit in Hiroshima on Thursday and Nagoya on Saturday before being combined for the relay. The Games will run until October 4, featuring 43 sports mainly across Aichi Prefecture. This brings us to the end of this edition, but before we say goodbye, here is a quick reminder of our top stories. RSP moves to amend Parliamentary Party Statute. Party President Lamitane rules out Cabinet reshuffle amid internal discussions. Khagaraj Bhatt secures majority support in Sudur Pashchim Assembly. Karnali Chief Minister Shahi prepares to seek confidence vote. Nepal's Jiri municipality closes schools as influenza cases rise. Health officials detect influenza in children across Dolka. US President Trump denies ongoing talks with Iran amid rising tensions. Iran keeps Strait of Hormuz closed as US maintains blockade. Pakistan government challenges order to move former PM Imran Khan. Law Minister rejects Supreme Court directions for hospital transfer. And the flame for 2026 Asian Games torch relay lit in Tokyo. The 20th Asian Games to officially open in Nagoya on September 19th. That's it for this edition of Primetime News. Our next bulletin will be at 2200 hours Nepal time. Do join us throughout social media and get the latest updates from our official website, nepaltelevision.com. I'm Suviksha Rajak and thank you for staying with us. Have a wonderful evening ahead.
Welcome to the studios of NTV World in Kathmandu. Public Service Broadcasting PSB Nepal's new initiative to make Nepal more visible and audible to the global audience. Welcome on board.
This is NTV World, facts that speak, insights that matter.
Telling the stories of a changing planet. NTV World, Nepal's perspective to the world.
Exploring the heartbeat of Nepali creativity. This is NTV World.
The power of story shaped by technology. NTV World.
Unearthing Nepal's hidden heritage. Discovering the timeless Nepal. Telling stories that endure across centuries. Where culture breathes, stories bloom.
When the world moves, we make a sense of it. NTV World.
Taste of Nepal. Every recipe, every flavor tells the story.
Journalism in the digital age. Fast, focused, verified.
Stories hold power. Stories reflecting life. Stories of the hinterlands. Reporting for NTV World.
This is NTV World. Welcome to News Hour.
This is NTV World. Welcome to Primetime News.
One story at a time.
Crossing borders, connecting voices, where Nepal meets the world in dialogue. This is NTV World, Nepal's perspective to the world.
Voices that connect Nepal to the world, bringing perspective, region and relevance to every story. NTV World, Nepal's perspective to the world.
Stand by.
Mic is on.
3, 2, 1, cue.
We are NTV World.
बाबु गुरुङको पारिवारिक पृष्ठभूमि सामान्य छ। मुस्ताङको फरक र सांस्कृतिक जीवनशैलीमा हुर्किएका उनको बाल्यकाल सामान्य बित्यो।
हामी यही आँगनमा खेलेर हुर्क्यौं अनि हामी गुम्बोबाट फर्केर आउँदा पनि यही ढोका तरेर यहाँबाट आमाले बोलाउँथ्यो। त्यस्तै त्यो बाल्यकाल यस्तै गर्दै बित्नु भएको थियो। अनि यही ढोकाको अगाडि अघि म हिँडेको बाटोमै हाम्रो आमाको साथीहरू चाहिँ दिउँसोको 1-2 बजे पछि त्यही बस्नुहुन्थ्यो। त्यो गरेर कुरा गर्दै बस्नु। उहाँहरूले चाहिँ अनि मेरो नाम बाबु राख्नु भएको।
उनको परिवार उनलाई कुनै गुम्बाको लामा बनाउन चाहन्थ्यो, तर उनको रुचि अन्तै थियो।
पहिले चाहिँ मुस्ताङ राजाको चाहिँ नेम अनुसार चाहिँ ठुलो छोरालाई चाहिँ गाउँ घर हेर्नुपर्ने र अनि माइलो छोराले चाहिँ गुम्बा जानुपर्ने नियम भएको कारणले चाहिँ म लामा मेरो फ्यामिलीले चाहिँ लामामा पठाउनु भएको म 20 वर्ष लामा बसेँ त्यसपछि चाहिँ मेरो इन्ट्रेस्ट चाहिँ कल्चर र वाइल्ड लाइफ प्रतिको त्यो रिलेसनको बारेमा भयो अनि त्यसपछि चाहिँ मैले सिटिजन साइन्टिस्टको रूपमा आफ्नो काम त्यो स्टडीहरू आफै गर्दै रिपोर्ट बेच्दा मैले 12 घण्टा सँगै बिताएको थिएँ 12 घण्टा सँगै बिताएको थिएँ ऊ पारी डाँडामा बस्यो म यता वारी डाँडामा बसेर चाहिँ यसै हेड एन्ड सिक खेलेको जस्तै भएर बसिरहेको थियो ऊ पनि सुतिरहेको थियो म पनि आफ्नो क्यामेरा छेउमा राखेर चाहिँ कहिले फोटो खिच्न मन लाग्यो फोटो खिच्यो त्यसपछि चाहिँ उलाई हेरिरहेर चाहिँ त्यो गरे उसको ह्याबिटहरू चाहिँ चिनिरहेको भन्छ त्यो इन्सिडेन्टहरू चाहिँ मलाई बेस्ट लाग्छ
पहिलो हिँड्छु त छिर्छ भने त ऊ फोटो हुन नपाएर नि किनलो क्यामेरा हुन नपाएर गाह्रो भयो अनि उसको दाइ चाहिँ विदेश गयो उसलाई धोका गाँथे उसलाई क्यामेरा पठायो अनि उसले खिच्यो अनि आमा त जहाँ गयो भने तिमी जहाँ गयो भने नडाँटो हामी साथीसित मिलाएर बसा अनि काम गऱ्यो भने राम्रो हुन्छ यिनीहरूको बुवाको काम राम्रो रहेछ बाबु अनि म अलि ढिलो छ बच्चाहरूले धोका दिँदैन यिन हामी धोका बच्चाहरू त नदुखे बुवाले उर्कायो आमाले पनि धोका गरेन बच्चाले पनि धोका गरेन बुवा राम्रो भयो अनि अलि बाँकी नभयो
नेपालको गण्डकी प्रदेशमा पर्ने मुस्ताङ जिल्ला चीनसँग जोडिएको ठाउँ हो यो सरदर 4023 मिटर उचाइमा छ ठूला ठूला रुख बिरुवा विहीन पहाडहरू र यहाँको फरक संस्कृति नै मुस्ताङका विशेषता हुन् बाबु गुरुङ यही मुस्ताङका छोरा हुन् जसले मुस्ताङमा आफ्नो र मुस्ताङको भविष्य उज्यालो देखेका छन्
मुस्ताङको एउटा मेन फेसेस भनेको के हो भने युवाहरू विदेशी नै मेन प्रब्लम किनकि म जस्तो अहिले यङ केटाहरूले चाहिँ यता बस्नै उनीहरूलाई चाहिँ गाह्रो मान्छ किनकि उनीहरूले चाहिँ यता कुनै त्यो नै छैन रोजगारी नै छैन तर मलाई विश्वास छ यो वाइल्ड लाइफलाई चाहिँ यो मुस्ताङमा चाहिँ विन्टरको 1 महिना भए पनि उनीहरूले रोजगारी दिन्छ त्यो रोजगारी पनि त्यति त्यो नभइकन उनीहरूले चाहिँ सिक्न पाउनेदेखि लिएर उनीहरूले रोजगारी दिन्छ भन्ने मलाई विश्वास छ अनि यो हुन्छ तर म गरेरै छोड्छु भन्ने मेरो अब डिटर्मिनेसन जस्तै म गरिरहेको छु
मुस्ताङ संसारभरिका पर्यटकको गन्तव्य बन्दै गएको छ जसको एक उदाहरण यी विदेशी नागरिक
I'm really happy to be here and me and my wife we travel a lot and normally we decide to go to countries where we can combine nature, culture, people, and I like to take photographs. It's my hobby, and therefore for me is this destination perfect.
चौधौं शताब्दीमा बनेको ऐतिहासिक लोमान्ताङ दरबार र यसका भग्नावशेषहरू। च्याम्पो, आनीझुमा लगायत पुराना ऐतिहासिक गुम्बाहरू। प्रसिद्ध मुक्तिनाथ मन्दिर। पितृको श्राद्ध गर्ने काली गण्डकीको तीरमा रहेको कागबेनी। मौलिक मार्फा गाउँ। संसारलाई लोभ्याउने कलात्मक पहाडहरू। यहाँको अद्वितीय मौलिक संस्कार र संस्कृति। शान्त र मौलिक जीवनशैली हो, यिनै हुन् मुस्ताङका परिचय। तिब्बतको नजिकै हुनाले यहाँ प्राय तिब्बती संस्कृति मनाइन्छ। भाषा पनि तिब्बती नै बोलिन्छ। बौद्ध धर्म यहाँको मुख्य धर्म हो। लोमान्ताङ उपत्यका यहाँको सदरमुकाम र सबैभन्दा ठूलो बस्ती भएको ठाउँ हो, जुन एउटा पर्खालले घेरिएको छ। यहाँ केही समय अघिसम्म मुस्ताङी राजाको आफ्नै शासन, नियम र कानुन चल्थे। हाल त्यो शासन नभए पनि यहाँका राजा र राज संस्थालाई मुस्ताङीहरू निकै श्रद्धा गर्छन्। उत्पादनको हिसाबले मुस्ताङ स्याउको लागि प्रसिद्ध छ। मुस्ताङ पुग्न काठमाडौँबाट कास्की जिल्लाको पोखरा पुग्नुपर्छ। सुन्दर नगरी पोखराबाट हवाई जहाजमा सदरमुकाम जोमसोमसम्म पुगेर त्यहाँबाट मोटर यात्रा तय गरेर पनि लोमान्ताङ पुग्न सकिन्छ। यसरी जाँदा पोखरादेखि जोमसोमसम्म हवाई जहाजमा 18 मिनेट लाग्छ अनि जोमसोमदेखि लोमान्ताङसम्म मोटरमा करिब 6 घण्टा लाग्छ। पोखराबाट सिधै मोटरमा लोमान्ताङ जान पनि सकिन्छ। यसरी जाँदा करिब 12 घण्टा लाग्छ।
Heaven above and angels below. This is the essence of Ruby Valley. Nestled in the northern part of Nepal's Dhading district, Ruby Valley is a hidden jewel surrounded on all sides by majestic mountain ranges. The landscape here is a feast for the eyes. white rhododendron blossoms paint the hillsides and sprawling rice fields shimmer under the sunlight. At about 300 kilometers from Kathmandu, the valley is a serene retreat, rich in culture, tradition, and natural beauty. Reaching Ruvi Valley involves a remarkable trek that starts with a scenic journey from Kathmandu through Nuwakot and Rasua, winding towards the base of Ganesh Himal, the towering peak that watches over this land. The trek leads through dense pine and oak forests, terraced farmlands, and vibrant local villages like Tipling, home to the Tamang community. These people live in harmony with nature, cultivating crops and raising livestock while keeping their rich traditions alive, welcoming visitors with warm hospitality and cultural performances. The striking Pangsang Pass at 3,800 meters marks a stunning milestone on the route, offering panoramic views of the green-clad hills and distant Himalayan ranges. Below, forests of tall sal trees stand as silent guardians. As travelers traverse this landscape, they witness local women harvesting crops, hear the heartfelt songs sung by villagers in the fields, and feel the essence of a life deeply connected to the land. The daily sight of Ganesh Himal inspires awe and a sense of peace that visitors carry with them. Ruby Valley lies in the heart of the Himalayas, surrounded by some of Nepal's most famous mountain ranges, Manaslu, Annapurna, Langtang, and Ganesh Himal itself. This geographic embrace creates breathtaking scenery at every turn. Here, caravans and mule trains add a touch of timeless charm to the trekking experience, enhancing the rustic beauty of this remote land. The village of Chalis, nestled in the lap of Ganesh Himal, is a cultural crossroads for the Gurung community. Visitors witness their unique traditions, hear their folk songs by evening fires, and enjoy their vibrant dances, which invite travelers to connect on a deeper level. The journey continues beyond the villages to sacred sites like Tatopani Kunda, where natural hot springs offer spiritual purification and healing waters believed to renew body and soul. From there, hikers embark on a challenging yet rewarding trek to the holy Ganesh Kunda, a glacial pond named after Lord Ganesh. This pristine water body mirrors the majestic peaks around it, creating an ethereal panorama that captivates all those who visit. With peaks ascending over 7,400 meters, Ganesh Himal stands as a guardian of this sacred valley. Ruby Valley is more than a destination. It is an invitation to experience Nepal's untouched nature, vibrant cultures, and spiritual heritage all in one journey. For those seeking a unique adventure off the beaten path, Ruby Valley offers an unparalleled blend of breathtaking landscapes, warm hospitality, and rich traditions that make it one of Nepal's top destinations for international and domestic travelers.
In the natural splendor the silver-like peaks or the Himalayas glisten. Cradling a pond filled with milk in its lap, the Numbur Himal gleams. The Dudkunda, meaning a milk pond in Nepal's northeastern district of Solukhumbu, is truly the gateway to the paradise. The Numbur, Khatang and Karyalung mountains seem to smile at all times. Adorned with a garland of colorful flowers, the Dudkunda is overflowing as if filled with milk. The very sight defines nature at its best. Feels as if the Numbur mountain is giving motherly affection, holding the lake in its lap. The beauty is so serene and virgin that one fears not to stain it by touching. Indeed, Dudkunda is nature at its purest form. Located at Solu Dudkunda municipality, Taksindu, the natural paradise draws many visitors. No matter how many words are spent describing it, they all feel inadequate upon reaching there. The name itself is fulfilling and equally sacred.
हजारौं नरनारीहरू चाहिँ तीर्थयात्रीहरू दुधकुण्डमा जानुभएको छ। म पनि पुगेर आएँ। दुधकुण्ड असाध्यै पवित्र स्थल यो हिमाल काखमा रहेको तीर्थस्थल हो, पुण्यस्थल हो, देवस्थल हो र त्यहाँ चाहिँ एकचोटि पुग्नै पर्दो रहेछ। त्यहाँ पुगेर जुन आनन्दको अनुभूति हुन्छ त्यो चाहिँ कहीँ पनि पाइँदैन भन्ने चाहिँ महसुस भयो।
आनन्द लाग्यो, मस्त लाग्यो अनि यो ठाउँमा चाहिँ आएर तपस्या गरेर बस्नु जस्तो लाग्यो मलाई।
एकदमै राम्रो लाग्यो हैन, प्रकृतिले दिएको रमणीय तीर्थस्थल हैन, जो कोही पनि एकचोटि चाहिँ यहाँ आएर एकचोटि भ्रमण गरेर दर्शन गर्नुपर्छ जस्तो लाग्यो।
Situated at an altitude of 4,531 meters above the sea level, Dudkunda is a sacred pilgrimage site of culture and nature. It feels like nature has blessed this place, and culturally, it has bound all castes and ethnicities in a thread of unity. There are various legends and sayings about Dudkunda. One argument is that the pond was formed during the creation of the Himalayas and was discovered by local sheep and yak herders. According to another legend, in ancient times, a yak would go to a stone where the pond is located and offer its milk every day. Later, the place was found to be a pond filled with milk, leading to its name, Dudkunda. This has also led to the belief that gods and goddesses reside here. There are 3 different routes to reach Dudkunda. One route is through Salleri, Faplu, Taksindu and Sasrabeni. Another route goes via Lukla, the gateway to the Everest, through Nuntala, Taksindu and Sahasrabeni. Nature has truly blessed the Solu Dudkunda municipality. Truly, just like the majestic Mount Everest, Dudkunda has the potential to be the destination for everyone in the days to come. It is a thread of unity among all castes and ethnicities. Just like the holy water of Dudkunda, it will become a pure and excellent destination.
Hello and welcome to a new episode of Insight here on NTV World. On today's episode, we are joined by Ghanashyam Gurung, a leading conservation voice in Nepal and the head of WWF Nepal, who is also looking over the Greater Himalayan Landscape Program across Nepal, India and Bhutan. Over the years, he has been at the center of efforts to protect wildlife, conserve forests and navigate the difficult balance between nature, development and communities. At a time when climate change and conservation are reshaping Nepal's future, his perspective, we believe, could not be more timely. Welcome to NTV World Insight. It's wonderful to have you here.
Thank you very much, Saraji. Pleasure to be here.
Our conversation also comes at a very celebratory moment. WWF Nepal celebrated 33rd year of milestone.
Yes.
How does it feel? How has the journey for you been so far?
It feels great that in this particular 33 years, we have gone through lots of changes, all the different political changes, including the insurgency. And with the changes, despite all the changes, that we have been able to put conservation of Nepal in the global conservation map. And that makes me happy, because WWF is a part of the journey on the leadership government with local communities that we have delivered conservation at a global scale.
Milestones that we can mark, for instance, the population of tiger, forest cover, to name a few. But what would you say are the achievements that you are very proud of?
I would say, if you say three biggest things, we say the species. We are the only country, almost triple tiger numbers. The rhinos brought at the historic level after zero poaching year of celebrations. The snow leopard number is the fourth largest, the gharials. And the next one is the forest cover and landscapes. We are one of the pioneers in conservation landscapes. And that gone all the way within Nepal landscapes and beyond Nepal with the India conservation landscapes, increasing forest cover. We started getting carbon money, started getting that. And then the third most important is the conservation at the center with the community. And besides community forestry, buffer zone, increasing forest cover, but then Kanchenjunga conservation area, the third highest ecology of the world, was handed over to local people. And I think people-centric, people managing the world's highest ecology. And Nepal winning the conservation UN decades of restoration out of 7 landscapes. For me, that's something that we can say. Being a part of it, that journey, makes me happy.
As humans across the world, in fact, we often tend to think that everything centers around us. That's how we've been treating environment as well. How challenging is it to bring the local communities together and head the conservation campaigns?
There's a bit of, I would say, lots of limited understanding is a big challenge. If you look at our job, beginning from Annapurna conservation area in the mid-1980s, if you truly believe in people, truly believe in the indigenous people of the land who have been protecting natural resources from generations to generations, that's why we are here, that still we've been able to say we have the diversity. And working with them, you sit with them, listen to them, I don't see a big challenge. The challenge is sometimes brought up by external people which can talk about lots of things, not necessarily is a context that is on the ground. For us, if you look at that, if you like, just I said, Kanchenjunga, it began 1998 in the middle of the insurgency. When the insurgency completed peace in 2006, we've been able to hand over to local people to manage it. And they're successfully managing it for the last 20 years. You elect all the conservation landscapes. People are working on it.
Nepal's geography is unique compared to many other countries. There's elevation-based dependent warming that we witness. How do you think this changes the conservation efforts in higher altitude regions?
If you look at Nepal, has a very interesting, everything interesting. One is that we have one of the most cultural diversity. We have lots of biodiversity. Then we have most climate vulnerability. So you look at all these are high, and we have to put it together, and it changes. I mean, you to higher altitude, the temperature goes higher and higher when you go higher and higher. So that means you have a more glacier melt faster, and not only glaciers are slowly melting faster, but also permafrost, which also runs faster, melts faster, and then gets collapsed and creates more vulnerability. Whatever goes on the top has got direct impact on the bottom where we are. And I think these are things is not going to change much, because I don't think we can stop the climate change in terms of temperature. So what we can do is we make sure that our own watersheds are better protected. So we'll continue to supply water. When roads are developed in high altitude, we really need to be alignments have to be better, so there's less prone to escalating floods and landslides, and which will have direct impact on inundation in the lowlands and lots of that. So these are the fundamentals we need to look at that. And when the hydropowers are developed in the cascading rivers, unless you protect, and the Gulf risks are higher and higher, and you have seen in recent years. And then the glaciers melting, after 50 years down the road, I don't think we have much to melt. But then whether you have a rain coming in, whether you have snow coming in, but the watersheds to be protected once you have it, and the reservoirs be built. So we are continue to secure your water resources, which are fundamental for our own existence. You cannot do anything with agriculture. Now we are talking about to increase the productivity in agriculture. You cannot simply rely on this the rain water. You have the irrigation going on, and then why you need everything you need it, and even the touristic areas, everyone wants to have a swimming pool where the water is going to come, and you even pumping water from the ground, you need to be recharged. Without recharging, you cannot pump it. And I think these are fundamentals that our geographical, the makeup, being a youngest mountain, more geologically vulnerable, and we are also in the one of the vulnerable country for earthquakes, and that has a direct impact what we built.
How do we find the perfect balance between environment and development, the cost of it? Because there have been many touted projects that have been put on hold because of conservationists' disagreement to the project.
I think that there's many different types of conservationists. Some could be a very end of the extreme. Others development or the conservation. In reality of conservation itself means utilization. And conservation for whom? Conservation for people. And if you look at that in the middle path of a conservation is for people, and that's why conservation needs to be done in a way more responsible, sensible way, so you not only benefiting this generation, the generations come after us will continue to benefit from that. So I don't see a big challenge. So simply you say, like if you want to destroy, say, what you want to bring a road and railways and everything, big hotels within Chittagong National Park, for instance. And that's going to destroy. Because if you destroy the basic seed bank of which I was talking about, tigers, rhinos gone. If you do all the roads inside, hotels inside, and then railways inside, everything inside the park, how big is the park? It's a small park. So that means it's gone. So still you can bring the roads. We have overpasses can be developed. There's a routes. You can reroute a little bit more. And there you have parks, the loss of development can be done around the park in the buffer zones. So in that way you can do a balancing act of conserving the fundamentals of a requirement of a nature, and then benefit from nature, not only this generation, generations to come.
It sounds like we are not strong enough in searching for alternatives, are we?
I think that we are searching lots of alternatives, and different people have different alternatives. And my take on that is, if you look at any alternatives, any solutions, you purely look into human-centric conservation that beyond these generations or generations to come, then it somehow minimizes the people who are very much interested, have a vested interest to make themselves rich and benefit out of it. The ones that happens, then they can go away from it. I think our fundamentals to make sure people benefit, continue to benefit from it. So for instance, you have a hotel, you can run 20 years, lots of benefit out of it. Once everything's gone, you can go somewhere else to open it. And that's the kind of model we do not want. And we have people have a different interest in that level. someone to exploit everything today, benefit it, but then go somewhere else to exploit it, which we don't want. We want utilization of resources more sustainable way, not exploitation to the level which will ruin the whole system in the place.
As we talk about the human-centric aspect of it all, and also as we celebrate the rising number of tigers, the achievement, a lot of human-wildlife conflict has resulted in unfortunate incidents as well. Do we have too many number of tigers?
We still, conservationists have calculated the carrying capacity of tigers, and we are still around that range. The tiger numbers have not exceeded, and the new numbers going to come, and we'll see how it's going to go. Okay, at the moment we still say around 400 is our carrying capacity we can maintain, and then too many tigers. And when you go to visit some of the parks, people were to go to see tigers. People will say, "I want to go to see tigers." Where are you going to go? Go to Bardea. Go to Chitwan, and tell them how many people actually see tigers. And you compare that with India. Indian parks, you go, you will see tiger. But here still it's hard to see tigers. Had there been too many tigers roaming around, we would have seen lots of tigers. Everyone goes to Bardea, we would see tigers. It's not the case. So the thing is, we would not say there are too many tigers. The tiger numbers have grown, and there has increased human interaction with tigers. In many cases, it's unfortunate we lost lives. And we are doing our best to make sure that loss of lives are minimized. Not only minimized, they have given a relief fund on that. And also we're now talking about those who are left behind, because those family members need to be given a counseling. It's traumatic to lose a family member. And not only tigers, you lose lots of people to other wildlife, rhinos, elephants.
Exactly.
I mean, there's more in elephants. And all those, no matter where lives are lost, it's a human loss of lives. And we really need to be doing that. And I think because we knew the tiger numbers were going up. Because of that, under the government of leadership, we really worked hard to find a very human tiger conflict management, we call coexistence model. That to implement that model, we have now a GEF funding to purely tackle that particular challenge and to improve coexistence in places like Bardea, Sukla, and Chitwan.
And what are the activities that falls under it?
That purely one is improving the habitat quality of the parks. So if you have water, grasslands, people, the tigers stray out will be less. Or any wildlife, not only tigers, the other wildlife will come to deprede your crops. So that's improving the habitat quality, which will increase density of it. Then we are talking about improving people's lives. So lots of people in the park around are economically deprived, and so many need to enter to the parks. So need to create alternative livelihood options so they don't have to enter to the parks. And then third most important is in changing the behavior of humans, because tigers are not going to change, they are wild. But we need to change. And recently, over the last 2 years, we really worked hard, and lots of conservation partners worked hard, particularly where the biggest tiger loss of lives to tigers. And then working a year with behavior change campaign, the losses have gone down to zero. It tells a story that many conflicts are raised because of our own behavior. And I think these are three particular pillars that we work, and then of course next is building capacity of the parks and capacity of communities, capacity of everyone. So when there's something goes wrong, we immediately be able to rescue, immediately be able to provide relief, immediately able to deal with it. So that's a capacity issue really need to improve. So these are the ones.
Over the course of time, how have you viewed conservation efforts evolve? Because climate change is being more aggressive, and I'm sure it has also posed newer threats.
If you look at the changes, I mean, the changes has been particularly one is the population front. The population has increased and is more and more coming to thrive, more around the city centric is going up. And the next one is basically that because of that you have lots of infrastructure development coming up. That's the one thing we really need to be mindful of it. The third thing we're talking about, climate change has an impact across everywhere. And whether it's flooding, the prolonged drought, and fire intensity. All of these are part of it, which has directly impact on the wildlife habitat, and not only wildlife, and the people, more importantly. So these are the changes moving fast, because everyone wants to develop road very fast. So that you have bulldozers can put everywhere with a heavy proper alignment and all the environment impact assessment. And sometimes we don't have enough resources to make sure the mitigation measures are put in place, whether it's the environmental impact, whether it's people impact. Social safeguards, as well as environmental safeguards putting in place, you need the resources to do so. So that's another challenge. So these are the ones I would say the changes have moved much more faster in speed, and really we are having quite a tough time to catching up.
And what about technology? Has it enhanced the
technology? Has changed a lot. I mean, technology, you took away that technology in the early days, you have to go after the animal to find the footprint and all of that. Now you can use the genetics, you can use the camera traps, you can use even doing a foot patrol, we have a smart patrol. People in Kathmandu could see how parks being patrolled. And then you have CC cameras with your eye in the park, and you have all the drones to count. It was hard to count the gharials that goes into water immediately, but you can count the drones, easily can be counted. So lots of technology. Early days you have to find out walk and with the VHF where the leopards, the snow leopards are walking in. Now you can stay in your computer and have a GPS collar and see how much snow leopards traveling between Nepal, India, Nepal, China, and all of that. You can see from there. So technology has changed a lot. It is helping us to do conservation better. And you also applied sniffer dogs, which are very interesting. So having said all of that, but still the conservationists and conservation technology need to be one step ahead of the poachers. Poachers also applying the same technology. And because that we need to be ahead of to control poaching and illegal trade.
When you put it that way, technology has definitely enhanced operation-wise, but has it made the work a little less interesting?
No, it's very interesting. I mean, you don't have now you want to do some genetics, so you will find more things, and all the technologies are going to give you more understanding of the species, their habitat, their ecology. All of that makes you even more interesting. And people, those who do a research, and more you know, you are exposed to more you do not know. And this technology gives you more and more understanding, but then you are curious to know more about it. So basically it's going to help you. And AI is another one. Now we are modeling restorations and corridors, all of that, how AI can be applied. And modeling it. It's much efficient. AIs can efficiently do the analysis. So it's more interesting. It gets more technology. Technology makes your job more efficient, more interesting, and sometimes more cost effective.
That question I asked, assuming that because you're a conservationist, you would want to go to the field yourself. And now computers are making it easier for you to monitor things from here itself. And that's where the motivation for the question came from.
I think it's interesting. You can see from here and you can go and verify there. And I think it makes you, instead of visiting many times, you may visit less. But then still you visit because you need a ground truthing of that. Everything will be not run by technology. Even you put a GPS collar on a snow leopard or any cats or any wildlife, you got to go physically go there and capture it and put it there. And still you got to do that.
You are also part of operations in India, Bhutan and Nepal. What would you say are the similarities or dissimilarities in conservation works in these regions?
I'm actually, at the moment, I'm coordinating the Greater Himalayan Transboundary Conservation Landscapes, which is Nepal, India, Bhutan, which connects 21 protected area systems. And basically, that's where the water towers are and where the watersheds are. That's only not securing biodiversity on the Himalayas, but it's also an impact on the millions downstream with water resources and environmental flow. So basically, India, Nepal, Bhutan have done brilliant work because we are one of the best countries in terms of bringing the tiger numbers up, snow leopard numbers up. When you have the biggest cat on the Himalayas is brought up, when you have the biggest cat on the lowlands is brought up, I think we have done a good job. And Bhutan is very much, I mean, they have done a good job in terms of conserving forests. And they also have a less population that we need to take into consideration. and they adopted carbon neutral, and they have a gross national happiness. So lots of things that we can learn from Bhutan is niche market, high value, low volume. Whether it's any medicinal plants, whether it's tourism, whether it's any product, that's something we can learn from them. Similarly with India, it's a large country, has got economically one of the 6 largest countries in the world, and lots of scientists there. So the highest number of tigers in India. See? So in this range, also the highest number of small leopards among 3 of us is in India, 700 plus. So all of that, India you can learn with lots of science. And for Nepal, more important learning from us is that how our infrastructure, particularly roads and railways, which we have not developed yet, railways, roads, other infrastructure, that we can learn a lot from India. Because India has got flatlands like Aitarawai, and India has all the most geologically vulnerable mountain areas, mountainous areas in the range, which is similar to us. So we can learn a lot from them. Having said that, but still I will tell you, we are the first country who did the zero poaching of rhinos in the world.
Exactly, that's
and
where
they
I
came
wanted
to learn from us.
What would you say would be inspirations that the world can take from Nepal's conservation efforts?
The world can have been learning from us for the last 10-15 years, particularly. One, Nepal has provided to the global world, both north, south, everywhere, it's the integrated approach of doing conservation with participation of community is the only way forward to sustain anything that we do, whether the development or the conservation. So for that, we need a political will. And in terms of, we need the enforcement agencies, like Nepal police, crime control. Otherwise, you cannot control the wildlife trade, which is one of the 4th largest in the world. After the human trafficking, narcotics, and arms ammunition, these are the largest ones.
We do, but hear of sporadic poaching incidents here and there.
There are very few. Indigenous, the trade control has done very well by Nepal Police, Pillar 4, or Wildlife Crime Control Bureau. Then you have a judiciary system. We are working very closely because they are also need to be very well. So you have a political will, whole system in place. Then Nepal Army has done excellent work in controlling poaching and trade control by police, community protecting whole resources, and government has given a overall political will and administrative investment on that. So, and then conservation communities like us came from all over the place to help support that. So basically, it's the model. The conservation cannot be done alone. So need an integrated approach, and if we work together in a team, everything's possible, and that we have shown the rest of the world.
I'd like to segue into cross-agency collaboration here, because earlier you just mentioned one of the challenges in raising required awareness was lack of resources. How has the cross-agency collaboration been with maybe local institutions and other agencies like maybe ICIMOD, even government institutions, for instance?
I think institutional collaboration is going very well, and as you brought ICIMOD is a regional institution which brings a regional understanding in terms of bigger science, whether you can talk about glaciers and all the climate change, all that. They bring a lot of scientific understanding at the regional level, which also helps us to understand better in our own Nepali context how you're going to go about it. And lots of collaboration going on. But still, I think one of the challenges is some of the institutions continue to be a facilitator. Because when you say government, who is the government? You have too many ministries. Who's going to coordinate interministerials? And the important institutions are here to facilitate the process. The coordinating role is very important. Convening is very important. And I think these are the kind of roles that we can play on that. And we have been doing that. Because everyone coming together. All the interministerial, inter-agency coordination, they are doing it. And at the moment, I think one of the challenges that we know where our financial overall budget lies or no, where do we stand on our budgeting. And still we have conservation is a big priority for everyone, but in terms of investment in conservation is very low. But in terms of human resources investment and dedicating the natural resources for conservation is high in Nepal. But in terms of investing to manage that is still low. So we need a lot of resources also to manage that. And that role that some of the resources and technical resources as well as limited financial resources to support government comes from institutions like us, and which is also now in a challenge because bilateral resources are slowly going down, and with the wars going on has got lots of limitations where resources are coming here. And you saw, just recently, the largest funding from the USAID has also been closed. And lots of resource limitations in what we can do. And conservation is not easy. Some can be done planned, some cannot be planned.
Few of the instances that developments you mentioned definitely has put conservation and climate change initiatives at the backseat. But we do have, our government in fact, also has NDCs where they have climate targets. Many activities under mitigation and adaptation goals as well. We talk about loss and damage fund as well. We talk about carbon trading. How do we go about accessing these international funds that the polluters have pledged to contribute to?
I think that is at the moment we talk about a loss and damage fund, but I don't think there's much fund available in that anyway. There's a limited fund, but then there's other funding, the GEF, Green Climate Fund and all that. More importantly, recently we have signed about 55 million for forest carbon with the LEAF coalition. And I think these are if you protect forests, and World Bank has just given us $9.4 million, but we have a net carbon, we can increase forest carbon. So the second tranche is also likely to come. So these are coming. To me, it's more importantly not only resources, the availability of it, bringing them efficiently and implementing efficiency is more of a concern to me. If you look at our budgeting system, how much are we achieving if you look at the budget? I haven't seen anything more than 60% executed. So execution has to be bring more efficiency on that. First one is availability of resources. Second part is have the capacity to efficiently deliver that results, and that happens when you really efficiently implement it. That has to be consistent with your budget spending.
You were a herder who wished snow leopards died. And then you turned into conservationists who protected them. What would you say would be your most fond memory with nature?
My fond memory is I was when I was herding age of 5 to 10, and I was running after my goat, and then a snow leopard. The little goats I raised with my own hand, and sometimes the mothers will run away, and we have to milk a little bit, and the milk we have to mix with the black tea, and we have to basically feed those little young goats, with our own mouth, feed from the mouth. And the little goats then become a little, and immediately they are getting killed by snow leopards. And that is something so disheartening. And I was so angry about it. And that's why I thought that this should be eliminated. It's not only the one I raised so lovingly killed, and that's a cash in the bank, it's economy. We have to rely on them. That's only cash in the bank we have. And that's taken away. So that's why I thought it has to be eliminated. But my grandfather always told me, son, they always that this is a balance. It's a deity. You respect them, they will kill less. If you don't respect them, they will kill more. So 1 or 2 is enough. So you have to look after your goats better. And particularly having the relation as a deity was a fundamental shift. There was my connection with the land. It's a deity of the Himalayas. So who was my enemy has given me the biggest crown. And they changed my perspective on snow leopard. One did not change with the deity. Relation with nature was never changed. But my anger was totally changed. My approach was totally changed.
There's this seed bank project that you are also very excited about. Could you please tell us a little about it?
Now, seed banks, I think now what's happening around the world is we are losing our indigenous varieties of seeds, our local varieties of seeds. And the seeds are whether you can, in the food, when you say in Nepali, you say wheat and rice are called food. They have a gluten, they have all the different things you know about. Then there's a good food, which is maize, millet and all of that. And then you got superfood, which is the barley and buckwheat and all of that. So these are varieties of seeds that are important, that we really need to put into a context of culture and our relation with the nature. Because when you have an indigenous seed, you perform rituals to plant it, to harvest it, to offer to your God, to offer you to spiritual leaders, your ancestors. All those relations of the plants, which you are healing. So and without that, medicinal plants, where is going to come? The raw materials has to come from medicinal plants, whatever you're going to make, chemicals. So all those relations are important to see it as a life farming system. So culture continues to thrive, means your identity will remain intact. And then you have a seed to be put in the bank. So you have a, next time when you go back, still there's seed available in the bank to take it out, which we are working with the genetic seed bank in Nepal agriculture. And so you are not only protecting your own cultural identity and natural resources, but also you're protecting the food security in the longer run. Because even you want to modify it, if you don't have an original seed, you cannot modify them anyway. So
this
that's
is putting into consideration climate resilience.
Important is climate resilience. The local varieties of seeds are much more climate resilient. And people relation to that brings more internal spiritual and cultural values which are more resilient. And indigenous knowledge, skills and understanding is coupled with that indigenous seeds. Local variety of seeds makes you much more resilient in a climate change. In the modernity, what's going to come even more in days to come. And same thing I was saying, the seed bank is particular variety of seeds. And here I'm talking about seed bank in the tigers and rhinos, where chiton is the seed bank. The tigers and rhinos, the birds and chiton, that's a seed bank. In just wildlife. These wildlife are gone. You cannot put them in the seed bank in a quarantine, no? They have to be live seed banks. The other seeds like barley, buckwheat, you can put in a seed bank where you can withdraw after 100 years. But these are the live animals. You got to have a proper habitat to conserve as a bank.
I wonder, what was your most heartbreaking moment during your career and the most happiest?
The most heartbreaking was when we said that the conservation we want to do is for people. And there's lots of people who tell us, you are doing conservation for yourself, not for people. When you say happiest, to me the happiest moment was when Kanchenjunga Conservation Area, which I was assigned to start, 1998, which is almost in the middle of the insurgency. Very difficult work, and I will not explain how difficult it was. But then when it was come to closer, then handing over to that, to the local people by the government, and I was there to witness it. That's the happiest moment. And the lowest point, the other one I said, the other lowest point is the happiest point turning into the lowest point. People who I look up to, my own gurus, Dr. Harkan, Dr. Chandra, Dr. Maske, all of those people were together, dancing, singing, handing over with such a celebration, and immediately we lost all of them in a tragic helicopter crash. And that was a very, very lowest point of my own feeling, physically, emotionally, and psychologically. And I nearly broke down when we have to bring the bodies in the helicopter, and I have to say thank you to the villagers. We are the only one who were up to bring the bodies down. Helicopters couldn't land. The Mountain Association guys were the one who actually did everything to bring everything remains being back. And that, when I say thank you, I couldn't say a word. Tears fell down.
I think you put it very beautifully. It was an irreparable loss. Irreparable loss.
Irreparable, yes.
Physically, mentally, emotionally.
Exactly. And that was, I think, made me and our team say, show must go on. The legacy has to be put forward, and we need to build next generations. And that's one of the reason today I was saying very happily. When they were there, rhino zero poaching was not there. We did the zero poaching rhinos. We increased the numbers. Every number is being increased, including Saras crane was doubled. And they should be very happy on the top. And then I said, more than 200 Nepali needy youths have been educated. And some of them have won international awards. And that makes me totally happy. I can't be more happier than that. Many of them have international awards. Relax Award, Widely Award. And that's why my life has been, I'm very privileged. One of the most luckiest man who worked 11 days to give my school leaving certificate from Upper Mustang to Pokhara.
Beautiful.
And today I stand here.
How do you view new conservationists today? As many work with you as well, you've inspired many. How committed are we?
New generation of conservationists, I'm very positive and optimistic. This guy is going to be very much leading forward. The only my concern is how much do they hang on to it passionately, to the cause, and continue to build the next generation is the one. At the moment, I'm not very sure yet. People are next generation are moving very fast. They are very much of just like how fast food has been moving. Their interests are changing very quickly. So we really need to. I'm really working hard to find out when you provide scholarships and all of that, finding people who have an emotional connection with the nature. They're passionate about it. So more connections with nature, passion, they will stay connected. Once who are connected, they see this is a kind of I would say this is a life. And when you begin to see conservation as your way of life, and then you're going to do it. And I'm quite hopeful that new technologies are going to help us to do better. And we don't have option either. You don't have option. Without protecting water, you're not going to survive. Without protecting the forest, you're not going to survive. So that understanding more holistically for others is more important. For yourself, everyone understand you need that. But that understanding taking beyond yourself for the benefit of the larger society, a larger species, the connectivity. When you lose the connection, your dependence is gone.
In the next 10 to 15 years, how do you see conservation evolving?
More understanding for everyone, because conservation is need and is the foundation of development. With our concept, more and more people realize that you really need to clean air and clean water, which you cannot make by technology, and you cannot make in factories. The fundamental existence of these two, you cannot make it by technology. Even AI needs a lot of fresh water to consume it. And where it's going to come? So I think this understanding is increasing, and we are investing a lot in next generation of conservation leaders, and they are getting even better equipped technologically, and also the understanding, so it's going to help us to do that. And if you ask me, I will be very happy. I come from a remote part of Nepal, one of the remotest early days. Still people drink water from the streams. I'll be very happy one day that Kathmandu, I can drink water safely from the tap. And then I can walk along the Bagmati without a smell. And then I would say, we have done a good job.
We look forward to it, and thank you for your contributions. It was a pleasure having you on the show.
Thank you very much, Saraji. It's a pleasure.
And as always, thank you for staying with us in the program. Our discourse here will continue on NTV World Insight. Until next time.
People simply observe and take pride in artists and their promotion of Malaysian culture internationally. But nobody cares how they struggle just to survive and maintain their sanity. The waves of stress that are constantly present and how it impedes their creative minds. The life of an artist is like an uneven curve. It never moves smoothly through a straight line. As an artist herself, Shima tries to make her life easy and its journey smooth sailing in a straight line. But this does not happen. After graduating with a bachelor's degree in art and design with a major in pottery and ceramics in 1982, Shima started her own business. She did not only do batik paintings on fabric and other soft materials, but also took part in painting, designing and production of batik garments. All these activities did not make her happy and she could not sustain herself financially. Then she decided to concentrate on paintings.
Things that you can comfort with, you can live with it. Because for the beginners, they have to find things and it's not easy to get all the materials. So first, you have to survive. Second stage, after you survive, you want to find yourself. There's a long way until that you become famous because of something in the painting itself. So it's comfort because it comes like it's not a day or a month or a year. It's going to be continued, maybe until you die.
Shima has been concentrating her creative works on paintings for nearly 2 decades. Her artworks mainly reflect traditional houses as imagery. She wants to spill the colors of her childhood experiences onto the canvas consciously.
This is from the experience before that you have. You see things. You see something that inspired you, that is the one that comfortable with, so that you just go on with that subject. Like a house is something that we experienced before. We live in those kind of houses, traditional, that which is in our childhood. We grown up there, and it's in the memory because we don't have it anymore.
Within the imagery of traditional houses, Shima does not only want to have nostalgic gratification, but also represent Malaysian multiculturalism in her paintings.
If you are Malay, there was the influences in the houses. If you are Indian, there were some images that shows. So this is what all about Malaysian multicultural. We have huge things to explore. It's something about our country. It's something about Malaysia in a way of you create it.
Devotion, patience, tolerance, commitment and inherent creative capacity are the fundamental qualities of an artist. Being an artist, Shima always feels the challenges of creating a new painting.
I think the challenge is the artist itself. How they're going to create good work, good artwork that you can show that to the public. That is the most challenging, because whether the public can accept it or not, and you can think whether you can continue with this career or not.
Once the painting is completed, Shima has a happy moment. It is a kind of great winning.
Happy moment, you've been rewarded. You won something. You've been, like I said, rewarded means whether you winning some contest or you've been rewarded because of your artwork being chosen for some reason of, your painting was in that certain place, which is people are looking up at it.
Being an artist is not always good. On many occasions, Shima has had very bad experiences within her society.
At the first step, you've been ignored because they say that your artwork is not going anywhere. It's very disappointed.
Like Shima, 21 other artists have been working in the artist colony. The colony is a traditional village-based art center where artists from different fields and expertise do their works. There are 11 government-subsidized wakafs, open-air wooden shelters built for artists within the craft complex in Kuala Lumpur. In the village, artists do not only create artworks, but also conduct various educational activities, such as teaching, training, and observational programs.
That's how you get the color, okay? Wherever you do, you must.
Just a comment on my art.
Every artist working in this village has their own style and creativity. They have been working with different mediums, forms, and compositions. Their different artistic talents create their distinct identity. However, they have a common practice of promoting the Malaysian way of living and culture.
So I'm the one who did the painting about art, Malaysian naive art, to promote Malaysia, especially when the tourists come over here, what they can bring back to visit Malaysia while they are on tourism. So to present my country, so they know what is Malaysia they have.
My subject is more to flora and fauna, and this is, as you can see here, this is more to semi-abstract artwork, and I'm really concentrate on the texture series, and this is considered my latest series.
It's my painting normally my environment. Normally my family like this. This my family, my son, my daughter. Look together. The title is together. That's mean well, I create a watercolor on a theme of the mangrove swamps of Malaysia. I travel from north to south just to record all the pictures, all the picturesque view of the mangrove. And back at home, I'll record it on my paper with watercolor.
A lot of Malaysian artists, they use a lot of images from surrounding, like historical buildings, like the traditional costume, something like that. So I think that show that Malaysian art scene, they have their own style.
Artists have their own particular perspectives and viewpoints to observe the surroundings and lives. They are born with certain natural gifts and talents. They also develop exceptionally critical senses. They do recreation of the reality onto canvases. Their artworks are like mirrors that reflect different dimensions of local reality. The tourists, however, prefer local motives in the artworks.
It's quite interesting to see some modern art. This complex is very interesting because there's a lot of different types of art and craft.
This is very different, and I particularly like her use of colours in the repeated motifs that she's got on display here.
I very like the Malaysian art because this one is very colorful and sketch also very beautiful.
Although the artists have been contributing a lot to promote the Malaysian culture internationally, they are under the wave of extreme stress. They have been struggling with hard times just to survive.
Not enough income to survive, to get the sourcing, like selling the painting, to make you alive. That is the most important in their mind. Besides, they want to produce a good work.
Audience has to have to appreciate Malaysian art more.
Di Malaysia ni dari segi pasaran mungkin belum luas.
To survive as an artist is quite tough at the moment now. It depends on the how you tackle the customer and how they like it your painting or not. That is the only way.
Struggle a lot to keep on survive and keep on doing your work, because many artists you can find they do halfway.
The major buyers of Malaysian artworks are foreign visitors. However, due to severe global economic recession, the official statistics of the Malaysian Tourism Ministry show that the inflow of foreign tourists are very unpredictable. This has immensely affected the sale of artwork. Artists have no choice but to bear the pain.
We have to think about to promote Malaysian art. Malaysian artists have to try to find the funding, so and from that way they can promote themselves. If we want to ask government to help us, in that way also can, but the government have a lot of things to think about, so artists should think their own way. I think like Malaysian government have to must start to collect artwork from the artists, like their government department. They have a lot of department. They have to start to buy artwork.
Artists like Shima are struggling against a dire situation to overcome. After investing their golden age in the field, artists are continuously creating their arts and seeking the support from society. Shima has taken these circumstances as a school of life. She has a strong commitment and beautiful dreams to be the best artist possible.
You have to sell the painting to survive, to get the money to buy the food or to pay any bills. But then when that problem is solved, or you get a way to solve the problem, I think it's going to be, you learn like in a school, but this is not a formal school. It's like a life school. I want to create something of your own brand, of your own mark in your country. You are not being comparing with other artists. That is the most that most artists wanted. But it's not going to be happen in one day.
Artists and artworks are an integral part of any society. Despite the extreme stress on their minds, they document the contemporary history of social reality. They also make many significant contributions to social transformation, critiquing evil elements and innovating new ideas. The life of an artist is never smooth like a straight line. However, one cannot imagine life without art.
Intermittent playing hide and seek with the folk, enchanting one's heart with the sight of fully bloomed rhododendrons, and rejoicing in the lap of nature with the chirping of the birds. When you set foot in Sandakpur, you experience a wonderful feeling of heavenly bliss right here on earth. Due to the ever-changing weather and the snow-white mountains visible right in front of your eyes, Sandakpur constantly draws everyone's heart towards it. as a habitat for numerous species of birds and endangered wildlife, Sandakpur always leaves an indelible mark on the hearts and minds of all. Situated at an altitude of 3,636 meters above the sea level, Sandakpur is located at Ward 2 and 4 of Sandakpur Rural Municipality in Nepal's eastern Ilam district. Embracing the mountains of Nepal, India and Bhutan, Sandakpur is the only place in South Asia where one can observe the Himalayas of all three countries. While enjoying the Himalayan settlements, one can observe the sunrise and sunset from Sandakpur. It is the only place in Nepal from where over 60 mountain peaks, including the Mount Everest, Kanchenjunga, Makalu, Pathivara and Kumbhakarna can be seen from one spot. Being the source of the holy Mai River, one of the 4 major rivers in Ilam, Sandakpur is also revered from a religious standpoint, attracting pilgrims from Sandakpur Ridge. The settlements of Ilam, Jhapa and West Bengal of India seem so close that it feels like you could hold them in the palm of your hand. The crimson glow of the sun rising from the Bay of Bengal in the morning, glittering upon the mountains. The joy of witnessing this form such a height is majestic. That is why in winter for the snow and during the monsoon for the rain, the number of visitors from both home and abroad to Sandakpur is on the rise. Among the different species of rhododendrons found in Nepal, 36 can be spotted just along the Sandakpur trek. The rhododendrons blooming all over the forest captivate every heart. With the chirping of birds, the cliffside honeybees, and the opportunity to study endangered species like the red panda, vultures, while enjoying nature, Sandakpur journey has captivated trekkers from around the world. Every year, more than 150,000 tourists from India, Bhutan, Bangladesh and Europe visit Sandakpur. Known as the Bird's Eye Place, Sandakpur was declared a one province, one cultural village by Nepal government in 2018. However, the place still awaits infrastructures like drinking water, electricity and proper trekking trails. Sandakpur can be reached after a 42-kilometer ride from the Ilam headquarters via Mai Pokhari and Kalu Pokhari. Another route to Sandakpur is from Ilam Bazar via Biblate, Sulubung, Mabu and Kalu Pokhari. When trekking to Sandakpur, the highest point of the Mahabharata range, the joy of staying in the homestays and hotels along the way while savoring local cuisine is immeasurable. While forging a connection with the Himalayan settlements, enjoying herbs and local produce, and playing in the snow in winter and the rain during the monsoon, you must visit Sandakpur at least once in your life.
U.S. President Donald Trump says no talks or discussions with Iran are currently underway or scheduled, contradicting his special envoy Jared Kushner's claim a day earlier that contacts with parts of the Iranian government were more active than ever. Taking to his handle on Truth Social, President Trump made such statement. Trump has also posted a map on Truth Social labeling the strategically vital Strait of Hormuz as new U.S. territory, while insisting the waterways open. The U.S. naval blockade remains in force and mines have been cleared. Iran has maintained that the Strait of Hormuz will remain closed until Washington lifts its naval blockade and sanctions and fulfills other commitments under a memorandum of understanding. Qatar, which has played a mediating role, says an agreement between Iran and Oman on the strait could help revive stalled U.S.-Iran negotiations. Iran's top negotiator Mohammad Bagher Ghalibaf has visited the Baghdad site where Iranian commander Qasem Soleimani was killed in a 2020 U.S. strike, calling for stronger regional cooperation. Speaking during a visit to the memorial, Ghalibaf said Iran wants to help shape a new regional order without foreign interference.
جنگ رمضان قدرت مقاومت ایران را درک کردند. مقاومت در عراق هم یکی از عناصر قدرت این کشور است. با گذشت سالها گفتمان مقاومت از مرزهای ایران و عراق و منطقه فراتر رفته و جهانی شده است. سفر امروز ما به عراق هم در راستای تقویت نظم جدید در منطقه و سرعت بخشیدن به تقویت همکاری‌های فیمابین همه کشورهای منطقه بدون دخالت خارجی است.
The United Arab Emirates UAE has suspended all trade, commercial exchanges and financial transactions with Iran until further notice in the latest escalation between the two Gulf neighbors. Abu Dhabi cited regional escalation and threats to peace and security after reporting the two ballistic missiles and accusing Tehran of targeting maritime traffic. The decision is significant for the regional economy because the UAE has historically been a major trading and commercial hub for Iran with extensive business links despite years of U.S. sanctions on Tehran. The announcement also rattled UAE financial markets, with Abu Dhabi's main stock index falling 0.9% and Dubai's index declining 0.2% on Wednesday. U.S. President Donald Trump has paused the planned rollout of new 50% tariffs on some Canadian goods for 3 days, just hours before the duties were due to take effect. Trump said the delay followed urgent talks with Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney and was based on the two countries having reached a deal pending final documents. The proposed tariffs target about $20 billion worth of Canadian exports, including products such as wine, hockey sticks, and cement, while Canada's auto, steel, lumber, and aluminum sectors already face separate U.S. tariffs. The U.S. Trade Representative's office says the emerging agreement is expected to include broader market access for American goods, economic security commitments, and digital trade alignment. The tariff dispute comes as Washington and Ottawa negotiate the renewal of the U.S.-Mexico-Canada trade agreement, making the 3-day pause a key window for both sides to finalize a broader trade deal. Pakistan government will challenge the Supreme Court's order to move jailed former Prime Minister Imran Khan to hospital for medical checks, the law minister said late on Tuesday.
Supreme Court of Pakistan ने साबिक वज़ीर-ए-आज़म इमरान खान साहब के बारे में उनकी सेहत के हवाले से जो ऑर्डर जारी किया है उसके कुछ नकात जो हैं जो कि जेल अथॉरिटीज और इस्लामाबाद इंतजामिया से मुतल्लिका है कि उनका 2 रोज में मेडिकल चेकअप करवाया जाए शफा इंटरनेशनल हॉस्पिटल से, उस पर मुशावरत हुई है और कानून का जायजा लेने के बाद अथॉरिटीज का ये ख्याल है कि ये ऑर्डर जो है ये कानून के उन 4 वॉल्स के अंदर नहीं है।
One person was killed and 7 others wounded after Russian drone strikes at Zaporizhzhia in southern Ukraine overnight, according to Ukrainian emergency services. The attacks triggered a fire on the second floor of a hostel and set a furniture store ablaze, while the roof of a nearby apartment building was also damaged. Emergency crews were deployed to the affected areas as rescue and firefighting operations continued. Zaporizhzhia, a major city in southeastern Ukraine, has repeatedly come under Russian attack since the war began. The World Health Organization (WHO) says the Ebola outbreak in the Democratic Republic of Congo remains a public health emergency of international concern as cases continue to rise and the disease spreads into new areas. WHO says more than 5,000 confirmed cases and over 2,300 deaths have been reported across 6 provinces, making it the country's largest Ebola outbreak and one of the most serious ever recorded. The outbreak is being driven by the Bundibugyo virus, for which there is currently no specifically approved vaccine or treatment, prompting trials of experimental vaccines and therapies. Authorities are also considering the use of the licensed Ervebo vaccine, although its effectiveness against Bundibugyo Ebola has not yet been confirmed. WHO warns that the risk of further spread within the DRC remains very high, while neighboring Uganda, South Sudan, and the Central African Republic face elevated risks because of cross-border population movement. Ukraine's ousted defense minister Mikhailo Fedorov is calling for elections despite the ongoing war with Russia, warning that Ukraine faces a crisis of governance. Fedorov says democracy cannot be held hostage by the war and urged authorities to find a legal and safe way to restore the electoral process.
Це складно. Потрібно забезпечити право голосу військових, мільйонів українців за кордоном, людей у прифронтових регіонах. Потрібно забезпечити безпеку виборчого процесу, незалежність інституцій і довіру до результату. Але складність не означає неможливість. Україна вже багато разів робила те, що світ вважав неможливим. Ми можемо знайти рішення і цій ситуації, бо демократія – це не розкіш мирного часу. Демократія – це частина того, за що ми сьогодні воюємо.
At least 9 people, including a child, were killed and 6 others injured after a fire broke out at a hotel in central Kolkata early Wednesday. The blaze erupted around 1:30 a.m. near Free School Street in Newmarket, trapping several guests inside the building before rescue teams evacuated survivors. Initial reports suggest a faulty air conditioner may have triggered the fire, but authorities have not yet established the exact cause. West Bengal government officials have raised concerns over hotels operating in buildings with inadequate fire safety arrangements and ordered scrutiny of such establishments. The victims reportedly included Bangladeshi nationals who had traveled to Kolkata for medical treatment. Australian murderer Erin Patterson has appealed her convictions for killing 3 people with death cap mushrooms and attempting to kill a 4th at a 2023 lunch in Victoria. Her lawyers told the State Court of Appeal that she suffered a substantial miscarriage of justice, citing alleged errors involving jury sequestration, disputed evidence about where Patterson's phone had been, and the prosecution's handling of her cross-examination. Patterson has maintained that the poisoning was accidental, while prosecutors argued she deliberately sourced the poisonous mushrooms and served them to her estranged husband's relatives. The 3 victims were Patterson's former in-laws, Don and Gail Patterson, and Gail's sister Heather Wilkinson, while Heather's husband Ian Wilkinson survived after spending weeks in hospital. Patterson, who is serving a life sentence with a minimum 33-year non-parole period, could face a retrial if the appeal succeeds, while prosecutors are separately seeking a harsher sentence with no possibility of parole. China has successfully launched and recovered a reusable rocket, marking a major step forward in the country's commercial space program. Images released by state broadcaster CCTV show the Zhuche-3 Y2 rocket, developed by Chinese space startup Landspace, lifting off the Dongfeng Commercial Space Innovation Pilot Zone in northwestern China. The rocket was then successfully recovered in what Chinese authorities described as a first for the country's reusable spacecraft technology. Reusable rockets are designed to be flown more than once, potentially reducing the cost of space launches and making frequent missions more practical. The achievement highlights China's growing ambitions in the global space industry, where it is competing with established and emerging commercial space companies around the world.
Copy. It is open and you got...
French astronaut Sophie Adenaude has become the first French woman to perform a spacewalk after stepping outside the International Space Station with NASA astronaut Anil Menon. The 6.5-hour operation involves replacing a communications antenna used to connect the ISS with mission control in Houston. Adenaude's spacewalk marks a historic milestone for France and comes as astronauts continue essential maintenance and upgrades aboard the orbiting laboratory. The mission highlights the international nature of the ISS, which brings together space agencies and astronauts from multiple countries.
Crew lock bag 1.
Okay, I am ready to pass the crew lock bag.
Meta deliberately made Facebook and Instagram features addictive to children and knew that young social media users' mental health would suffer as a result, California Attorney General Rob Bonta says in a press conference after opening arguments in the Meta trial in Oakland. Bonta says they knew their product was dangerous and they lied to the public.
That they knew their product was dangerous and they lied to the public. They lied to Congress. They told the public, they told the world that their product was safe, that it wasn't dangerous. And so their deception, their lies are at the core of our case. Meta's conduct is deceptive, it is dangerous, and as we make clear in our lawsuit, and as is most important in a court of law, it is illegal. The company had a legal, not to mention a moral, obligation to consider the safety of young users when designing their products.
Italian scientists are turning to octopuses in an effort to control the invasive blue crab, which has caused major damage along the country's coast. Researchers involved in the OctoBlue project say experiments have shown that octopuses can prey on the blue crabs, which are a major threat to local marine ecosystems and fisheries. The initiative aims to use thousands of young octopuses as a natural predator to help contain the rapidly spreading species. Authorities say the blue crab has caused nearly 17 million euros in damage in Italy's Emilia-Romagna region since 2022. Scientists hope the approach could provide a more natural way of tackling the invasion while supporting affected coastal communities. Five-time Grammy Award winner Angelique Kidso has become the first Black African to receive a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. The Benin singer was honored during a ceremony in Los Angeles, recognizing her decades-long contribution to music and her global cultural influence. Kidso said she was still unable to believe the honor, adding that seeing her star made the moment real. The distinction adds another milestone to the career of one of Africa's most internationally acclaimed musicians. Chinese robotics company Unitree surged more than 600% in its Shanghai debut on Wednesday after raising more than $900 million in its initial public offering IPO. Shares of the Hangzhou-based company opened at 1,100 yuan, up 629% from its IPO price of 150.80 yuan before paring some gains. Unitree, one of China's leading humanoid and quadruped robot makers, has gained global attention with its products used by researchers and major technology companies including Nvidia, Google, and Amazon. The company's listing comes as Beijing promotes robotics as a strategic industry, with Chinese firms increasingly competing in the global development of so-called physical AI, which enables a robot to autonomously interact with the real world. But the sector is also becoming a new front in the US-China technology rivalry, with Washington having targeted some Chinese robotics companies on national security grounds. The flame for the 2026 Asian Games torch relay has been lit in Tokyo, marking the start of preparations for the continental sporting event in Japan. The 20th Asian Games will officially open in Nagoya on September 19, with the torch relay beginning Saturday. Sprinter Kiryu Yoshihide lit the flame using the same cauldron used when Tokyo hosted the Asian Games in 1958, before it was handed over to Aichi Governor Omura Hideki. Flames will also be lit in Hiroshima on Thursday and Nagoya on Saturday before being combined for the relay. The games will run until October 4, featuring 43 sports mainly across Aichi Prefecture.
Culture and identity of a nation or community is deeply embedded in its craft and lifestyle. In this, specialized craft producers are major actors. Besides specialized skills and uniqueness, time adds value to such crafts. In this film, we explore two such specialized crafts, one in Kathmandu and the other in Niigata, that have played significant role in elevating their respective national culture and identity in the world's fair. The capital of Nepal, Kathmandu, is a spectacular blend of natural beauty and culture. Habitat to about 2.5 million people, the city holds a rich cultural history that dates back to the ancient times. The 7 UNESCO World Heritage Sites it encompasses are evident to the fact. Swayambhunath, Bodhanath, Pashupatinath temple premises, Changunarayan temple area, as well as the 3 Darbar squares of Kathmandu, Patan and Bhaktapur enlisted in the UNESCO Cultural World Heritage Site are not only a glimpse of its civilization, but Nepalese treasured pride. The civilization of Kathmandu, that lies 1400 meters above the sea level, seemingly holds a close connection with copper products since time immemorial. Historical text has it that Kathmandu in ancient time was referred to as Nepal. Sanskrit lexicographers have a synonym of tamra or copper as Nepaliklam and Nepalam. Hence, the origin of the name Nepal is assumed to have been derived from the Sanskrit word copper. In Nepal, copper has been a basic raw material to a wide range of art and crafts, including in sculpture, architecture, dete and housewares making. Thus, it has over time been an integral part of Nepali civilization and lifestyle.
इस्वीको सुरुदेखि चाहिँ ताम्र को टुक्राहरूको व्यवहारबाट चाहिँ यसको चलनचल्ती भएको बुझिन्छ। त्यसपछि चाहिँ 6औं शताब्दीमा आएर चाहिँ यसबाट चाहिँ मुद्रा बनाउने चलन आयो। टिस्टुङको भटुवाल र पाल्चोक भन्ने दुई ठाउँमा अंशवर्माले राखेको अभिलेखमा चाहिँ यो तामाका भाँडाहरू चाहिँ सरकारको स्वीकृति बिना बाहिर लानु हुँदैन भन्ने उल्लेख आएको छ। ह्वेनसाङ चाहिँ भारतमा आएर भारतबाट चाहिँ नेपाल भएर चाहिँ चीन फर्केको बुझिन्छ। त्यो चाहिँ 643-44 ईस्वी सम्बततिर आएको बुझिन्छ। त्यो जुन कैलाशकूट भवन छ त्यो कैलाशकूट भवन बारे ह्वेनसाङले एकदमै राम्रो चाहिँ उल्लेख गरेको छ कि यो 7 तलाको थियो। यसको चाहिँ छाना चाहिँ तामाको थियो। यसको चाहिँ नेपालमा चाहिँ तामाको पैसा चाहिँ चल्तीमा छ। यहाँका मानिसहरूले भाँडाकुँडाहरू तामाको चलाउँछ। यी कुराहरू उल्लेख गरेको छ जुन चाहिँ चाइनाको टाङ वृत्तान्तमा अथवा इतिहासमा उल्लेख गरिएको छ।
The earliest known repause image is Garudasana Vishnu, dated 607 CE from Changunarayan Temple in Bhaktapur. Some historical metal idols of the 6th and 7th century are remaining in private possession or in museum collections abroad. A significant consideration as evidence of copper metal craft are the idols dating back to the 11th century excavated in Makwanpur, which is a district adjoining Kathmandu. At the moment, these rare valuables are safely harbored at the Patan Darbar Square Museum. Among the 3 cities of Kathmandu Valley, Patan is comparatively popular for copper craft. Hundreds of families, especially the Newars, who are natives of this cultural city, have been preserving their ancestral legacy of manufacturing copperwares and artifacts for generations now. In Nepal, copper artifacts are made mainly through 2 techniques, either by lost waxing or repause, which is a technique of pounding metal sheets. The Malla period between 1200 to 1482 is considered a golden era in terms of metalcraft in Nepal. An array of work dazzling in its quantity and quality was produced then, much of which survives. The popularity of Nepali artisans had reached far and wide. It was in this period that Araniko, the famous artisan, was taken to Tibet. In 1265, Emperor Kublai Khan of China, impressed with Araniko's work, invited him to the capital and got him to renovate the artifacts in the monastery there, dating back to the Song period. In 1274, Emperor Khan appointed Araniko the director of the court artisans in China. To date, artists in hundreds are committed to continue the legacy of copper craft in Nepal. Among them, some are successfully effortful to simultaneously take ahead promotion and expansion of the craft. Among such names is Rajkumar Shakya, renowned for his crafts and entrepreneurship. Shakya was born on 1966 in Patan in a family of metal craftsmen.
हाम्रो पुर्खौली अब
बाजे बराजुदेखि नै यही काममा लाग्नु भएको बुवाले काम गर्नु भएको जासलमा बसेर बुवासँगै बसेर खेल्दै सिक्दै काम गर्दै गर्दै परम्परागत तरिकाले नै सिकेको मैले सानो बेला सिक्दाखेरि त्यति बजार पनि थिएन यो कलाको अहिले आउँदाखेरि यो कलाको चाहिँ बजार पनि अन्तर्राष्ट्रिय जगतमा फैलिँदै गयो यसको चाहिँ उत्पादनमा पनि वृद्धि गर्नुपर्ने देखियो
Shakya's works have made a niche both in the national and international market. Passion, focus, devotion and search for new ideas is what has elevated Shakya's profile as compared to other artists. The incomparable expression of skill and creation of beauty are reflected in his works, which are beyond imagination for any ordinary artists. His widely acclaimed works of craft have been placed at various countries, with Japan, Vietnam, China, Thailand harboring his significant works. The latest is the 155 feet tall idol of Guru Padmasambhav in Bhutan. Based on repoussé, pounded sheets of copper were wrapped around iron skeleton, which was built using modern architecture. Supervised by Shakya, it took 4 years for 57 artisans to complete the idol.
2000 एक्सपो मा जर्मनमा मैले सबभन्दा ठुलो स्वयम्भूको स्तूपा बनाउने अवसर पाएँ फेरि पछि चाहिँ 2010 मा चाइनामा पनि फेरि वर्ल्ड एक्सपोमा त्यहाँ पनि मैले चाहिँ ठुलो स्तूपा बनाउने र अरु कलाकृतिहरू बनाउने मौका पाएँ त्यसमा चाहिँ अझ मैले चाहिँ हाम्रो हनुमान ढोकाको श्वेत भैरवको मुखाकृति 12 फिटको श्वेत भैरवको मुखाकृति पनि बनाउने अवसर पाएँ त्यो पनि त्यहाँ अब चाइनामा चाहिँ एक्सपोमा प्रदर्शन गर्न पाएँ त्यसपछि अनि चाहिँ मैले भुटानमा पद्मसम्भवको मूर्ति बनाउने पनि अवसर पाएँ
Cultural and anthropological experts have highly evaluated Shakya's efficiency and capabilities.
त्यो 14औं शताब्दीमा जुन परम्परा थियो हाम्रो नेपालबाट अन्य देशमा गएर चाहिँ नि कलाकारहरूले आफ्नो कला प्रस्तुत गर्ने नेपालको कलाकारितालाई त्यहाँ चाहिँ नि स्थापित गर्ने जुन काम गरेको थियो त्यसै कामको चाहिँ नि निरन्तरताको रूपमा अहिले हामीले 20औं 21औं शताब्दीमा राजकुमार साकेजीलाई पाएको छौं यस्तो ठुलो ह्युज त्यो मूर्तिहरू बनाउने क्रममा चाहिँ नि त्यो मूर्तिको एउटा स्थानबाट अर्को स्थानमा सार्नु त्यस्तै गरी त्यसलाई चाहिँ प्रोपोर्सनेट मिलाउने आदि इत्यादि टेक्निकल पनि एकदमै कठिन काम हो अब यसलाई चाहिँ उहाँले अत्यन्तै माइन्युटली चाहिँ गर्नु हुँदो रहेछ
To reach Shakya's stature, however, takes a lot of dedication, devotion, practice and patience. Thus, not many youth look keen in pursuing with the profession. Keeping this in mind, Shakya also conducts classes for the younger generation in a bid to hand it over to them. Most interestingly, Shakya's son is also one of his pupils and has already joined him in his business.
हेरिटेजमा नेपालको एकदम टुरिस्टहरु पनि एकदम आकर्षित भयो हेरिटेजमा हैन त्यही भएर अब बुवा पनि यसमै लाग्नु भयो त्यही पनि मैले नि यसमै गरौँ कि जस्तो मलाई लाग्यो बुवा यति आर्टिस्ट भएर पनि अब मेरोमा पनि धेरै एक्सपेक्टेसन गर्छन् होला अरूले पनि त्यही भएर अब सिक्न काम गाह्रो पनि छ सिक्न अब टाइम पनि लाग्नेछ धेरै सिक्न पनि त बाँकी छ
Such noble endeavors, complemented by the engagement of the younger generation, have indeed sparked a hope that the prosperous tradition will be kept alive. For those involved in copper kitchenwares and housewares, the biggest emerging threat is the modern wares, which are both attractive and cheaper. In a bid to preserve their profession, they have now attempted to add diversity to their products based on the demand of the changing times. Meanwhile, there are others like Kalyan Krishna Tamrakar, who, although remaining in the trade, have embraced newer productions based on market needs. Tamrakar has been manufacturing artistic utensils along with internationally acclaimed singing bowls, which are mostly used in meditational purposes.
करीब 28 वर्ष भयो सिंगिङ बोल्स नयाँ सिंगिङ बोल्स बनाउने र त्यसमा अलिकति थेरापिक युजको लागि बनाएको सायद नेपालमा पहिलो नै मैले बनाए होला एउटा फिलोसफी हो र जहाँसम्म युटेन्सिल्स र मैले बनाउने सन्दर्भमा पहिला यो धेरै पहिलाहरू बन्थ्यो र पछि बिस्तारै यो ब्रोन्जको युटेन्सिल्सहरू लोप हुँदै गयो अनि यो बनाउनु पाए हुन्छ कि भनेर अनि हामीले यसलाई फेरि बनाउन थालिएको.
The market for singing bowls is mostly Europe and is used in intensive research and meditation. The sound created from the balls vary based on the utensil itself and is proven effective for improving blood circulation and hence is used in therapy as well. Tamrakar, whose forefathers had been copper craftsmen by profession, has justifiably promoted their knowledge and skills in the wider market through entrepreneurship. Majority of his buyers are from Germany and Japan.
やはり他で買いが利かないのと、さらにその日本の求める品質にネパールの人たちが合わせてものを作ってくれるからと思います。
私のユーザーは心を癒すそういったツールを大変求めているユーザーが多いです。例えばアロマセラピーの方でヨガの方、そういった方たちの要望に応えるためにネパールから輸入しようと思いました。そうすると残ってる手作りは大変高い、ほとんどアーティストのレベルしか残りなくなります。一般の方が使う商品はもう今やネパールでないとできないのが現状だと思っています。ですから私たちのユーザーはそれを望んでますから、今私もネパールから大変たくさんの量を輸入しています。
In the Yahikoyama terrain drained by Shinano River lies Niigata city. Rice farming is predominant owing to the rich soil deposit which makes it ideal for agriculture. Besides, it is also renowned for the high-quality copper mines. During the Meiji period, copper mining flourished in the foothills. Adorned in tulip blooms, the designated city of food and flowers does not rest even amidst thick blankets of snow. Tsubame in Niigata is a city of metal craft and craftsmen that have thrived through prosperity and tumultuous times. At the beginning of the 1600s, lot of artisans came to exist in the Tsubame Sanjo area, driven by the local administration's policy of encouraging side business. Thus originated the metal processing industry from the making of Japanese-style nails known as wakugi. The first artisans also produced household items including agricultural tools, kitchenwares and tobacco pipes. Once Japan started importing Western-style nails, the number of artisans gradually started decreasing. During the Second World War until 1945, the factories in the local area had to be mobilized to produce military goods. The 1950s was a time of mass production and mass consumption in Japan. Thus, metal processing companies grew multifold in number and size. Following the Plaza Accord that largely intervened currency markets, the factories gradually lost their business to their overseas competitors. They did not have as many orders as they once had. As a result, the local business temporarily but sharply declined.
今、燕市で追記銅器というふうに言われている、器といいますか、ものがありますけれども、それは一般的に金工でいう金属を加工する技術の中の単金と言われるものの一つでして、それを全国的に同じような技法はたくさんあるんですけれども、燕市ではそれを追記銅器と呼んでいる。燕市の追記銅器というのは伝統工芸技術としても県の指定にもなっておりますし、伝統工芸品としても指定されていますが、燕市の中ではだいたい今から250年くらい前の江戸時代の後期にその技術が仙台の方から来た職人によって伝わったと言われています。
Kakuhei Tamagawa also learned the technique from the craftsman and hence founded Gyokusendo in 1816. Since then, about 300 artisans have kept alive the traditional skills. The company is currently a leader in Niigata to preserve and expand the treasured tradition of Tsukidoki. It is said during the Second World War, when weapons and arms mass production had peaked, the Tsukidoki industry nearly disappeared owing to shortages of copper. It was Gyokusendo's then leadership that brought back the craftsmen dispersed across the country, that helped in the revival of the industry. Gyokusendo celebrates its 200th anniversary in 2016. Today, its outlets are spread in top-notch departmental stores in high-end streets of Japan and overseas. Motoyuki Tamagawa is the 7th master of Gyokusendo. Since taking over the company at an early age, he has worked hard to promote his products and company. Tamagawa, who strongly believes in adapting to business management style with time rather than changing age-old skill patterns, introduced the trend of putting his artisans in direct contact with the customers at Gyokusendo's outlets and during exhibitions. This, he believes, not only helps customer understand the skill and hard work required to create an artifact, but also helps the artisans learn the needs and tastes of the changing times.
顔の見える商売をしようと思ったんですよね。でそこで私が考えたのが商社を下ろさずに直接百貨店に行ってでそこで実演販売をして職人がお客様と会話するようなこのビジネスモデルを作っているんですね。抑制の方向としては、大量というよりは本当銅器を愛用してくださる方に対してちゃんと説明してちゃんと愛用していただける方を対象としたやっぱり商売をしていきたいと思ってますんで、だからそういうこと職人も、だから職人をどんどん増やすというわけではなくビジネスもどんどん大きくするわけではなくてちゃんと玉泉堂というブランドをね高めていくでお客様のその愛用する顧客満足度もやっぱり高めていくというところがすごく大事だと思ってますね。
At the Gyokusendo factory, about 15 artisans of various ages work hard by the day to improve their skills. Working with Gyokusendo is a dream for many artisans. Gyokusendo recruits one from among hundreds applying every year. For a craftsman, it can take about 20 to 30 years to acquire proficiency to handle a set of techniques all by himself. Each stroke in Tsukidoki is made in such a way such that the marks do not overlap. The proficiency of an artisan is observed in a vessel made out of one copper sheet and without any seams. For the younger artisans, it is a matter of a lot of perseverance and patience. Today, all independent Tsukidoki artisans in Tsubame were once trained at Gyokusendo. Among them, a prominent name is of an artist par excellence, Master Norio Tamagawa.
今のその木目金イコール木目金っていうのがもう、のりおさんのことなんですけれども、その土台となっているのはやっぱり玉泉堂で修行していた時代の追記銅器という技術が骨幹にあって根元のところにあって、でそこから、亡くなられた師匠のところに、弟子入りをしたりですとか、いろんなご苦労修行の中でご苦労されながら、今、世界にもこう名前を馳せるようになった素晴らしい作品を作られるようになったと思います。
Master Norio Tamagawa is the pride of Niigata and is acclaimed as the living national treasure, Japan. His insurmountable contribution in reviving mokumegane through his outstanding and unique creation is beyond comparison. The Tsubame Industrial History Museum, which is a hub to compile, preserve and exhibit industrial heritages, has set up a separate section to exhibit his works. This meticulously carved artifact harbored at the museum is the master's signature art piece. The masterpiece is a delicately hammered, refined handiwork that, owing to its traditional aura and aesthetic value, has awed art lovers and consumers across the world.
いわゆる就職って言いますか、会社へ入りますね。会社従業員として入って、何年か経った時に少し外の世界も見たいと思って東京へ2年ばかり修行に行ったんです。日本の芸大っていうね、その人たちとの交流もあったんで、その作品、私の場合はずっとほら商品を作ってたわけでしょ。商品じゃない作品作りのペースっていうのをね、ああ違うもんだなっていうのをつくづく感じましたね。
The master reminisces it took him 11 years before he could call his product a piece of art. As a young artist, he took inspiration from his seniors to aim high and excel bigger dreams.
作品作りには影響ないね。作品の場合はあくまでも個人の欲求のままに作るんですからね。世間が何を求めてるかっていうのはあんまり関係ない。っていうのは力がいる仕事なんでね、もう70過ぎてね、現役っていうのは今まであんまりいなかったんです。だから私は仕方ないからやってるけども、だから夢はないけども、もう作品をいくつ作れるか。
The traditional skill nurtured by newer skills, tools and technology has elevated the 200-year-old technique to a world-class art. Contemporary Tsukidoki products include a wide range of aesthetically distinctive housewares and artifacts. Mr. Tatsushi Tamagawa, currently the chief manager at Gyokusendo, is Master Norio Tamagawa's son. He started as an artisan at Gyokusendo. Since then, much has changed. He has seen the changing business landscape, the diversity in products, which he says directly or indirectly determines the mindset and working style of an artisan.
言われたものを、早くきっちり作るっていうのがとてもいい職人だと思うんですけども、最近はプラスいろいろこういう喋るものとかも今はそういうふうにいろいろお客様に説明するとかそういうものも含まれて 全てこなしていい職人になるのかなという感じは最近はありますね。
Most fascinatingly, his son Keita, the youngest of the Tamagawas, also works under him at Gyokusendo. At 20, Keita is already an efficient beginner. Initially driven by his grandfather's success when he joined the company, it was but a prized escape for Keita. But now, Keita is intensively working hard to attain the precision to be a better artist.
そうですね。まあ、どちらの方もすごい仕事に対して一生懸命で寡黙なので、まあ、そういうところを自分に取り入れられたらいいなとは思ってますね。なんか、まあ、僕のお父さんもなんだおじいちゃんに真似してるっていうか似てきているのでなんかまあそうですね、まあおじいちゃんからはやっぱりちょっと仕事がすごいテキパキ早いので、まあ、そういうところを見習いたいなとは思いますね。はい、そういうところです。はい。
Since the beginning of human civilization, art has evolved based on culture and vice versa. Nevertheless, the demand of changing times has had a detrimental role to play in its course and form. Whether it is Niigata or Kathmandu, artisans continue to express themselves in their artworks. There is little doubt the modern-day artisans' creativity, aided by modern technology, has not only helped preserve traditional skills, but also contributed to the ascent of human civilization.
Dai Lake in Karnali province is a geographically remote district, yet rich with untapped potential for tourism. Stepping into Dai Lake, celebrated as a treasure trove of Khas art, culture and heritage, brings a unique sense of joy. Journey begins amid its natural beauty, leading us toward Mahabur Rural Municipality. As we leave the mid-hill highway, the terrain becomes challenging, with hilly, muddy roads demanding patience and skill. Long lines of vehicles crawl carefully along the cliffs, reflecting both the difficulty of the route and the enduring devotion of Mahabur Dham. Many travelers choose to continue on foot, advancing step by step toward their destination. Passing through Channa, Dasarathi, Okharbanz, Bhavsaini, Noli and Unipata, pilgrims ascend the slopes toward Lisni before finally reaching Mahabur Patan. Pilgrims from Dai Lake and nearby districts often arrive late at night, having begun their journey the previous day. The path to Mahabur Dham is thrilling, adventurous and breathtaking, made even more dramatic by the steady rain, drifting fog and steep inclines. Yet the journey itself feels uniquely rewarding. Mahabur Lake or Mahabur Dham, located within Mahabur Rural Municipality, is a remarkable place of natural beauty, religious significance and cultural heritage. Situated at an altitude of 4,200 meters, the area is adorned with emerald lakes, grazing flocks of sheep and goats, and a sky that dances with Himalayan mist. Every year, during Janai Purnima, a grand fair is held here, drawing thousands of devotees from across the region. Mahabodham's spiritual importance is deeply rooted in the ancient worship of Lord Shiva, revered here as the origin site. From Mahabod Lake, visitors can enjoy magnificent views of Api and Saipal Himal, and on clear days, even the plains of Bardia. Given its religious importance and natural splendor, Mahabodham holds immense potential as a religious tourism destination. Improving the rough, narrow access roads is essential for supporting this growth. Mahabodham is more than a pilgrimage site. It is a confluence of culture, history, faith, and nature. To truly appreciate its significance, one must visit Mahabod Lake at least once, immerse oneself in its natural beauty, and experience the serene environment that leaves a lasting impression. These hills and valleys are witnesses to change. They hold countless dreams and the aspirations of a prosperous nation. Beneath their natural beauty lies a deeper reality, a true portrait of life. Here, the geography is visible, but the emotions are heard. Our effort is to bring closer the landscape and sentiments of Rukum West, a region filled with dreams, possibilities, and determination. Since the Mid-Hill Highway connected Rukum, it has played a vital role in local development. It has helped market local produce, boosted livelihoods and employment, and promoted the region's stunning nature, languages, arts, and culture. Many older residents never imagined a road passing near their homes or ever riding in a vehicle. Now, as cars glide smoothly over these hills and ridges, their joy is unmistakable. As we pass through the villages of Rukum, we encounter countless stories of hope and trust. Signs of development are increasingly visible at the local level. Vehicles now travel on blacktop roads and improved access to technology has made rural life more dynamic. Whether it is Sangkha in Musikot municipality or Rimna Dobhan in Sani Bheri rural municipality, these communities not only reflect the natural beauty of Rukum West, but also narrate inspiring stories of transformation. Rukum is a district shaped by a decade-long armed conflict. During those years, it stood at the center of national attention. Yet after the peace process, its development trajectory has steadily risen. Improvements in roads, political awareness, education, and healthcare have all played crucial role in this progress. In the remote terrains, the natural beauty is inseparable from the faces of the people who live here. Expressions of longing, eyes searching for their children, and the countless struggles behind their simple dreams all resonate deeply. Despite stories of positive change, the migration of many young people abroad remains a pressing concern. A district rich in nature and culture now faces the challenge of a shrinking youth population, which limits its potential for prosperity. Traveling this road, crossing rivers, climbing hills, and enjoying the northern Himalayan views is a unique experience. From the lowlands of Jorjahari, along the banks of Bheri River, through Ramni Dobhan to the district headquarters in Khalanga, and onward through the scenic settlement of Sangkha into eastern Rukum, the journey is breathtaking. Yet, this land is still searching for its youth, so that its beauty can be tied to prosperity. Here in this rugged terrain, the reality is visible and the emotions you hear are true.
Government raises pay grants for teachers and school staff. Cabinet approves UN Assembly delegation and Japanese grant. Lawmakers demand stronger public service. Upper House forwards airline liability bill. RSP lawmakers question government performance. World to mark Mosquito Day. Mosquito-borne diseases pose growing health risk in Nepal. Authorities urge for elimination of breeding sites. US President Trump denies ongoing talks with Iran amid rising tensions. Iran keeps Strait of Hormuz closed as US maintains blockade. Pakistan government challenges order to move former PM Imran Khan. Law minister rejects Supreme Court direction for hospital transfer. And the flame for 2026 Asian Games torch relay lit in Tokyo. The 12th Asian Games to officially open in Nagoya on September 19. Good evening, I'm Suveksha Rajak and you're watching NTV World News Hour, coming to you live from Kathmandu at 2200 hours Nepal time. Now, the news in detail. The government has decided to increase salary grants for teachers, early childhood development facilitators and school employees working under federal grants. The cabinet has approved a 10% increase in existing salary grants for teachers under the federal teaching support scheme. Monthly pay for secondary level teachers will rise from 43,669 rupees to 48,058 rupees. While basic level teachers will receive 38,203 rupees, up from 34,730 rupees. The government will also add 5,000 rupees per month to salary grants for ECD facilitators, school employees and school support staff. The cabinet also approved a Nepali delegation led by the foreign minister to attend the 81st UN General Assembly in New York. It further accepted a Japanese grant worth around 2.73 billion rupees for an air traffic control improvement project at Tribhuvan International Airport.
नेपाल सरकार र साउदी अरेबिया बीच द्विपक्षीय हवाई सेवा सम्झौता गर्न स्वीकृति प्रदान गर्ने, अर्को भुक्तानी तथा फर्चोट ऐन 2075 लाई संशोधन गर्न बनेको विधेयक संघीय संसदमा पेश गर्न स्वीकृति दिने, अर्को नागरिक लगानी कोष ऐन 2047 लाई संशोधन गर्न बनेको विधेयक संघीय संसदमा पेश गर्न स्वीकृति दिने र अन्तिममा सहसचिव श्री कमल प्रसाद भट्टराईलाई राजपत्राङ्कित विशिष्ट श्रेणीमा बढुवा गर्ने र मुख्यमन्त्री तथा मन्त्री परिषदको कार्यालय बागमती प्रदेशको प्रमुख सचिव पदमा पदस्थापन गर्ने।
Nepal's federal parliament saw lawmakers raise concerns over disaster relief, electricity supply, university education, children's mobile use and the Upper Karnali hydropower project. The House also demanded action over the death of a 3-year-old girl in Bara. Meanwhile, the National Assembly sent the Domestic Air Services Liability Bill 2083 to its Legislation Management Committee for clause-by-clause discussion. Separately, RSP lawmakers questioned government performance during a parliamentary party meeting where ministers briefed MPs and party chair Rabila Mechane pledged stronger coordination. More on this in our cover story segment later in the bulletin. Now, mosquito-borne diseases are emerging as a growing public health concern in Nepal as mosquitoes spread into new geographical areas. Dengue, malaria and Japanese encephalitis remain among the major diseases transmitted by mosquitoes. Authorities say changing climate conditions, urbanization and favorable breeding environments are increasing the risk. For World Mosquito Day this year, the public is being urged to eliminate stagnant water, destroy mosquito breeding sites and adopt preventive measures. We'll look into this in detail in our Issue of the Day segment later in the bulletin. Now, US President Donald Trump says no talks or discussions with Iran are currently underway or scheduled, contradicting his special envoy Jared Kushner's claim a day earlier that contacts with parts of the Iranian government were more active than ever. Sticking to his handle on Truth Social, President Trump made such statement. Trump has also posted a map on Truth Social labeling the strategically vital strait as new U.S. territory, while insisting the waterway is open. The U.S. naval blockade remains in force and mines have been cleared. Iran has maintained that the Strait of Hormuz will remain closed until Washington lifts its naval blockade and sanctions and fulfills other commitments under a memorandum of understanding. Qatar, which has played a mediating role, says an agreement between Iran and Oman on the strait could help revive stalled U.S.-Iran negotiations. Iran's top negotiator Mohammad Bagher Ghalibaf has visited the Baghdad site where Iranian commander Qasem Soleimani was killed in 2020 U.S. strike, calling for stronger regional cooperation. Speaking during a visit to the memorial, Ghalibaf said Iran wants to help shape a new regional order without foreign interference.
جنگ رمضان قدرت مقاومت ایران را درک کردند. مقاومت در عراق هم یکی از عناصر قدرت این کشور است. با گذشت سالها گفتمان مقاومت از مرزهای ایران و عراق و منطقه فراتر رفته و جهانی شده است. سفر امروز ما به عراق هم در راستای تقویت نظم جدید در منطقه و سرعت بخشیدن به تقویت همکاری‌های فیمابین همه کشورهای منطقه بدون دخالت خارجی است.
Pakistan's government will challenge the Supreme Court's order to move jailed former Prime Minister Imran Khan to hospital for medical checks, the law minister said late on Tuesday.
सुप्रीम कोर्ट ऑफ पाकिस्तान ने साबिक वज़ीर-ए-आज़म इमरान खान साहब के बारे में उनकी सेहत के हवाले से जो ऑर्डर जारी किया है उसके कुछ नकात जो हैं जो कि जेल अथॉरिटीज़ और इस्लामाबाद इंतज़ामिया से मुतल्लिका है कि उनका 2 रोज़ में मेडिकल चेकअप करवाया जाए शफा इंटरनेशनल हॉस्पिटल से, उस पर मुशावरत हुई है और कानून का जायजा लेने के बाद अथॉरिटीज़ का ये ख्याल है कि ये ऑर्डर जो है ये कानून के उन 4 वॉल्स के अंदर नहीं है.
The Supreme Court has ordered authorities to facilitate Khan's transfer from prison for medical checks. The government's move sets up a fresh legal dispute over the treatment and custody of the former Prime Minister. The flame for the 2026 Asian Games torch relay has been lit in Tokyo, marking the start of preparations for the continental sporting event in Japan. The 20th Asian Games will officially open in Nagoya on September 19th, with the torch relay beginning Saturday. Sprinter Kiyu Yoshihide lit the flame using the same cauldron used when Tokyo hosted the Asian Games in 1958 before it was handed over to Aichi Governor Omura Hideki. Flames will also be lit in Hiroshima on Thursday and Nagoya on Saturday before being combined for the relay. The games will run until October 4, featuring 43 sports mainly across Aichi Prefecture. After the break, as mosquitoes spread to new areas across Nepal, the risk of dengue, malaria and Japanese encephalitis is growing. We'll look at why mosquito-borne diseases are becoming a bigger public health concern and what you can do to stay protected. Stay with us for our issue of the day. Welcome back. You're watching NTV World News Hour. And it's time for Issue of the Day. Mosquito-borne diseases are emerging as a growing public health concern in Nepal as the miniature creatures continue to spread to new geographical areas. Dengue, malaria and Japanese encephalitis remain among the major diseases transmitted by mosquitoes in the country. The rising risk has been attributed to changing climate conditions, urbanization and favorable breeding environments. On World Mosquito Day, authorities are urging the public to eliminate stagnant water and adopt preventive measures. Sabika Shasta with Pramla Bhandari brings more.
Mosquitoes are common insects that can cause serious health problems in humans. World Mosquito Day is observed every year on August 20 to raise public awareness about mosquito-borne diseases and ways to prevent them. Although mosquito bites are often taken lightly, the diseases they transmit can cause serious health complications. In Nepal, mosquito bites can spread diseases such as dengue, malaria, and Japanese encephalitis. In recent years, mosquitoes have spread to different parts of the country, making mosquito control an increasingly difficult challenge. Various efforts carried out from the local to the federal level include preventing water from stagnating, destroying mosquito breeding sites, strengthening disease surveillance, and using insecticides when necessary. However, changing environmental conditions, urbanization, population movement, and the expanding geographical range of mosquitoes continue to make mosquito control challenging.
सुरुमा अब विशेष तराई भेगतिर चाहिँ हैन बढी समस्याहरू हुन्थे हैन बिस्तारै बिस्तारै चाहिँ हामीले कसो भनेपछि पाहाडमा पनि विशेषगरी जहाँ जनघनत्व छ जहाँ शहरीकरणको घनत्व बढ्न सके चाहिँ त्यो रोगहरू पनि बढेको हैन कुराहरू पनि हामीले देख्यौं.
Mosquito-borne diseases earlier seen in Tarai Plains only have now spread to almost all districts of Nepal except Mustang. In 2022, dengue reached epidemic proportions in Nepal. Today, dengue has become an established disease in Nepal, meaning it continues to occur locally. Similarly, the first outbreak of Japanese encephalitis in Nepal began in Rupandehi in 1978. Malaria, that had been a long-standing mosquito-borne disease in Nepal, particularly in the Tarai and lower altitude regions, has been eradicated. Temperature, rainfall, humidity, and favorable environmental conditions for mosquitoes are increasing the risk of such diseases. Globally, more than 1 million people die every year from diseases transmitted through mosquito bites. Similarly, around 700 million people are infected with mosquito-borne diseases every year. In Nepal, dengue has emerged as a major public health challenge in recent years. The Aedes aegypti mosquito, which transmits dengue, usually bites during the daytime. It can breed in stagnant water collected around homes, offices, and public places. People infected with dengue may develop symptoms such as high fever, headache, pain behind the eyes, muscle, joint pain, nausea, and skin rashes. In severe cases, the disease can cause bleeding and other complications. The most effective way to control mosquitoes is to destroy their breeding sites.
Mosquito-borne diseases are becoming an increasing public health threat in Nepal. With changing climate, urbanization and expanding mosquito habitats raising the risk across the country, Aprila Kising Lama looks into the numbers.
Mosquitoes are moving higher up Nepal's mountains, bringing dangerous tropical diseases with them. Public health data from the Ministry of Health and Population reveals an alarming climate shift. Disease-carrying vectors are now crawling past 2,000 meters into districts like Jumla and Solukhumbu. Dengue is the country's most aggressive threat. Sourced from the Epidemiology and Disease Control Division, Aedes mosquitoes have already triggered over 900 early infections across 68 districts ahead of this monsoon season. Urban centers like Kathmandu, Chitwan, and Pokhara remain major hot zones. Meanwhile, Culex mosquitoes are fueling a deadly surge in Japanese encephalitis, which breeds heavily in lowland rice fields. Health officials report a devastating spike of 175 confirmed cases and 35 fatalities, the highest death toll seen in a decade. Lumbini province remains the hardest hit. As we fight these vectors, ecologists remind us of their dual nature. Mosquitoes are essential to global and local food webs. Their larvae filter organic waste to clean stagnant water, while adult males act as vital pollinators for wild plants and orchids. Completely wiping them out could cause a dangerous collapse for local birds, bats, and aquatic life. To balance public health and nature, the government urges citizens to join the Search and Destroy campaign. Empty all stagnant water from discarded tires, plastic drums, and flower pots to stop breeding at the source. Stay safe, use nets, as we need to adapt living beside the menacing mystique mosquitoes.
In this context, we asked the public how aware are they of mosquito-borne diseases. Here's today's Public Pulse.
लामखुट्टेको रिजर्भर भन्छ जो बस्ने ठाउँ हुन्छ जस्तै टायरमा जमेको पानी खाल्टा खुन्टीमा रहेको पानी तिनीहरूलाई नष्ट गर्ने हो जुन लार्भा भन्छ त्यो लार्भाले नै पछि लामखुट्टे हुने हो त्यसलाई नष्ट गर्ने हो एउटा अर्को भनेको चाहिँ अब व्यक्तिगत रूपमा भन्दाखेरि चाहिँ परिवार समाजमा चाहिँ अब झुलको प्रयोग गर्ने एउटा अर्को भनेको चाहिँ लामखुट्टेले टोक्नै नदिनको लागि अब मस्किटो रिपेलेन्टहरू जुन लामखुट्टेको लागि नियन्त्रण गर्नको लागि प्रयोग गर्न सकिन्छ त्यस्तो प्रयोग गर्ने हो
हामी अहिले मच्छर धूप झुल यिनीहरू लगाएर प्रयोग गरेर हामी बाँचिरहेको छ अहिले मच्छरको समस्या त समस्या छ यहाँ
तर यो नालाहरूको फोहोरको कारणले गर्दाखेरि तपाईको मच्छरको त धेरै समस्या छ हैन तपाईको औषधिहरू पनि छर्केको कति वर्ष भइसक्यो आजकल कुन औषधि छर्छ एकछिन छर्छ त्यो मच्छरहरू पनि भाग्दैन डराउँदैन
झुल त लगाएर सुत्नै पर्छ बाहिर सुते पनि भित्र सुते पनि हरेक बिना झुलको हामी यहाँ सुत्न सक्दैनौँ
टायरहरुमा चाहिँ पानी जम्मा भइरहेको हुन्छ नि त्यसलाई चाहिँ हामीले सरसफाइ गर्ने फाल्ने घर वरिपरिको झाडीहरू चाहिँ सबै त्यसलाई चाहिँ हामीले फाड्नु पर्यो सरसफाइमा ध्यान दिनु पर्यो घरमा चाहिँ अब झ्याल ढोकामा चाहिँ जालीहरू खापामा जालीहरू लगाउनु पर्यो
खुट्टेले नटोकोस् भन्नको लागि चाहिँ हैन त्यो विभिन्न किसिमको मलमहरू पनि उपलब्ध हुन्छ तीहरू पनि प्रयोग गर्न सकिन्छ
After the break, lawmakers raise concern over disaster relief, public services and the Upper Karnali project in the House of Representatives, while the National Assembly advances the Domestic Air Services Liability Bill and the RSP reviews government performance as lawmakers voice concerns over the party's work in government. Stay with us for our cover story. Welcome back. You're watching NTV World News Hour. And it's time for our cover story. Lawmakers in Nepal's House of Representatives have urged the government to prioritize immediate rescue and relief efforts following heavy rainfall and damage across the country. During the 0 hour, MPs also called for improvements in university education and reliable electricity supply in parts of Tarai. They raised concerns over the growing use of mobile phones among children, warning of potential health impacts and calling the digital awareness programs targeting parents. Lawmakers also urged the government to complete the required procedures and begin construction of the 900-megawatt Upper Karnali hydropower project. Other issues included problems caused by monkeys and wild boars, public security and various local concerns. MPs also demanded an investigation and immediate action against those responsible for the death of a 3-year-old girl whose body was found in Jitpur, Simara. Nepal's National Assembly has unanimously approved a proposal to send the Domestic Air Services Liability Bill 2083 to the Legislation Management Committee for clause-by-clause discussion. Culture, Tourism and Civil Aviation Minister Khadga Raj Paudel presented the proposal during today's meeting. The bill will now undergo detailed review and discussion in the committee before moving forward in the legislative process. The meeting also tabled written responses to questions concerning the Foreign Ministry, the Ministry of Law, Justice and Parliamentary Affairs, and the Ministry of Culture, Tourism and Civil Aviation. Foreign Minister Sisir Khanal, Law Minister Sobita Gautam and Tourism Minister Khadgaraj Paudel presented the respective responses. After Rashtriya Swatantra Party lawmakers publicly questioned the government's performance, the party held a parliamentary party meeting to address their concerns. Ministers briefed lawmakers on the ministry's work, while some lawmakers expressed dissatisfaction. Party Chair Rabi Lamechhane said coordination between the party and the government would be strengthened. Here's a report.
Recent criticism from lawmakers of the Rashtriya Swatantra Party, RSP, has prompted the ruling party to hold discussions between its ministers and members of parliament. RSP lawmakers have raised concerns in parliament and parliamentary committees over the government's performance, as well as issues including shortages of cooking gas, access to healthcare and employment. The party held a meeting in Singhadarbar on Wednesday to discuss the concerns raised by lawmakers, the government's working style and coordination between the party and the government. Party Chair Rabi Lamechhane urged lawmakers to maintain parliamentary decorum while raising issues. He also said there were no problems in his relationship with Prime Minister Balendra Shah and that the Prime Minister's social media statements should also be understood in a literary context.
सरकारका विषयलाई लिएर मन्त्रालय मन्त्री या कसैको विषयमा केही छ कि भनेर हामीले आन्तरिक छलफलहरू गर्यौं ताकि संसदको मर्यादा कायम गर्ने जिम्मेवारी पनि हाम्रो रहन्छ त्यस अर्थमा चाहिँ संसदमा मर्यादित ढंगले प्रस्तुत हुने संसदमा उठ्ने विषयवस्तुहरू आम नागरिकको जीवनसँग जोडिएका विषयहरू हुने यी सबै यावत कुराहरू जति पनि छन् त्यसलाई चाहिँ एकै पटक छलफल गर्ने र छलफल गरिसकेपछि अब एउटा better understanding का साथ अगाडि जाने भन्ने विषयमा आज छलफल.
Lamechhane said the government's shortcomings would be addressed gradually and that changing ministers was not an immediate priority. He also said the party had introduced a candidate club to help organize preparations for the upcoming local elections.
उहाँ त एउटा पोएट पनि हो नि त एउटा कलाकार पनि हो नि त एउटा कवि आज यत्रो भिडमा पनि मैले एक्लो महसुस गर्न सक्दिन आज कति मान्छे हुनुहुन्छ तपाईहरु त्यसकारणले त्यस्तो त्यो हामीले सोचे जस्तो हो कि हरेक शब्दका अर्थहरु खोज्न गयो भने त्यसको राजनीतिक अर्थ भन्ने नै हैन नि यत्रो सिंगो पार्टी यही सँगै उभिएको छ यहाँ पार्टी सिंगो उभिएको छ कहाँ हुनुहुन्छ त्यो एक्लो त्यो अर्को अर्थमा तपाईले त तान्नुभयो त्यो कुनै त्यसमा चिन्ता गर्न पर्दैन.
Ministers and lawmakers attended the meeting while Prime Minister Balendra Shah, who also leads the parliamentary party, was absent.
That was the end of our cover story. Now moving on to more updates. Members of Nepal's Council of Ministers have signed performance agreements with Prime Minister Balendra Shah for the current fiscal year. The agreements signed at Singhadarbar outline major responsibilities and targets focused on good governance, social justice and prosperity. Finance, foreign affairs, home energy, law, health, education, tourism, agriculture and other ministries signed the agreements with the Prime Minister. Chief Secretary Govinda Bahadur Karki also signed a performance agreement with Prime Minister Shah. The agreements are aimed at setting clear targets and improving government performance throughout the fiscal year. Prime Minister Balendra Shah and Communications Minister Dr. Bikram Timil Sina have signed a performance agreement for the current fiscal year. The agreement sets time-bound targets for improving public service delivery, expanding communications infrastructure and increasing access to digital technology. The government will evaluate ministry performance based on measurable results and milestones. Under the agreement, Nepal aims to expand optical fiber by an additional 1,000 kilometers for 24 core and higher capacity networks and 6,500 kilometers for networks of up to 12 cores. The government also plans to expand 4G coverage, increase telephone and mobile broadband access, and improve telecommunications service quality. The agreement further aims to connect people in rural and remote areas with modern communication services and expand traditional media through digital platforms. Home Minister Sudan Gurung has told the House of Representatives that the government remains committed to improving disaster management and relief efforts. Responding to questions about disaster-affected people in Jatarkot and Rukum West, Gurung said current law generally allows only one person per family to receive disaster-related benefits. He said the government has formed a task force led by the National Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Authority's executive chief to review the provision and give local governments greater responsibility. Lawmakers also raised concerns over crop damage caused by monkeys and wild boars, public security, and the recent murder of a 3-year-old girl in Bara. 2 people have been arrested on the case. Indian Army Chief General Dheeraj Seth has returned home after completing a 4-day official visit to Nepal. Seth visited Nepal at the formal invitation of Chief of the Nepal Army, General Ashok Raj Sigdel. He was bid farewell at Tribhuvan International Airport by Lieutenant General Pradeep Jung Kesi. During the visit, President Ramchandra Paudel conferred on Seth the honorary rank of General of the Nepal Army. He also held a courtesy meeting with Prime Minister Balendra Shah at Singhadarbar and participated in various programs organized by Nepal Army. The Nepal Army said the visit helped further strengthen and deepen the long-standing military relationship between Nepal and India. Nepali migrant workers who die abroad after traveling through unauthorized channels face a legal barrier to returning home, even in death, as Nepal currently lacks a clear procedure to repatriate their bodies. With several such bodies stranded in different countries, the government has now begun drafting a procedure to address the legal gap and facilitate their return. A report.
For weeks, Junu Rai has been waiting for one thing: to bring her husband, Santosh Rai's body, home from Cambodia. Santosh had travelled to Cambodia for foreign employment through India after paying around 700,000 Nepali rupees, but died of a heart attack less than a year later. His family's efforts to repatriate his body ran into a major legal barrier because he had travelled without proper documents and through an unauthorized route.
म जस्तै सबै अन्यलमा नपरुन् नफसुन् अब मेरो जस्तै विपद परेको बेलामा यो कति गाह्रो हुने रहेछ श्रम नगरिकन जाँदाखेरि अब जानीहरूले पनि परिवारको पनि कुरा सुन्देर जाउन् जानीहरूले अब मेरो त श्रीमानले परिवारको कुरा सुन्नु भएन आफ्नै जिद्दीपनाले पनि साथीको लैलैमा लागेर पनि जानुभयो.
Junu came to Kathmandu seeking government help, while lawmaker Ashika Tamang repeatedly raised the case in the parliament. The case has now exposed a wider problem. The Foreign Ministry says the bodies of around 10 Nepalis who died abroad after travelling through unauthorized channels are currently stranded in different countries. Officials say Nepal previously had no clear legal procedure to repatriate such bodies, but following growing pressure, the government has now drafted a procedure and sent it to the Finance Ministry for approval.
कार्यविधि बनाएर हामीले अहिले अर्थ मन्त्रालयमा पठाएका छौं. अर्थ मन्त्रालयबाट स्वीकृति प्राप्त हुने बित्तिकै यो कार्यविधि कार्यान्वयनमा आउँछ र हामीले सकेसम्म अहिले हामीले कार्यविधिमा केही सीमित प्रस्तावहरू मात्रै गरेका छौं. त्यसमा सब फिर्ताको विषयमा कोमा अथवा चाहिँ विशेष हिसाबले उपचार त्यसमा पनि केही सीमितता राखेका छौं. जस्तै अनलिमिटेड पैसा लाग्यो भने 1 करोड अथवा 50 लाख रुपैयाँ लाग्यो भने के गर्ने भन्दा हामीले चाहिँ यसलाई 12 लाख रुपैयाँ सम्म चाहिँ नेपाल सरकारको क्याप राखेका छौं. यो प्रस्तावित कार्यविधिमा अर्थले अझै त्यो प्रक्रियामा नै छ.
For workers who travel through legal channels, insurance and repatriation support are already available through the Foreign Employment Board. Last fiscal year alone, more than 1,200 Nepali workers' bodies were brought back to Nepal through the formal system. Now, the government faces the challenge of creating a system that can also bring home those who fall outside that legal safety net.
A special program has been organized in Kathmandu to mark United Nations World Humanitarian Day 2026. The event, organized by the Universal Peace Federation, focused on celebrating humanity, promoting solidarity, and rebuilding trust for peace. Individuals who have made significant contributions to social service were also honored during the program. A traditional horse racing competition has concluded in Lomangthang of Upper Mustang at an altitude of around 4,000 meters. The event was organized as part of the Yartung Festival by Lomangthang Rural Municipality and the Annapurna Conservation Area project. The competition featured two categories, the short distance Kadam race and the long distance Baska race. Tamji Shime Gurung's horse Kemba from Lomangthang 5 won the Kadam race, while the Baska race was won by a horse ridden by Bibek Magar of Khandruk Kaski. Betel nut farming in eastern Jhapa is gradually emerging as a source of multiple incomes rather than remaining limited to a single cash crop. Farmers are now cultivating pepper, lemon, turmeric, ginger, paddy and various vegetables between betel nut trees, allowing them to generate income from the same piece of land throughout the year. This intercropping system is helping farmers make better use of their land while providing an additional source of income before the betel nut trees reach full production. Rojina Rai with our local correspondent Dikesh Lama from Jhapa brings the report.
Jhapa, Nepal's largest betel nut producing district, is seeing a new trend among farmers. Instead of leaving the land between betel or areca nut trees unused, farmers are increasingly turning it into productive farmland. They are growing black pepper, lemon, turmeric, ginger and various vegetables between the trees. In some areas, farmers are also cultivating paddy. This allows them to earn income from several crops using the same piece of land.
यो मुनिबाट लाउने खेतीमा अब अरु पोथ्रामा हैन कागती यो अलैंची नरिवल अनि तपाईको कोला यिनीहरु यो चाहिँ सहज हुँदो रहेछ.
Betel nut is a long-term crop and takes several years to reach commercial production. Agricultural technicians say growing intercrops during this period provides farmers with a regular source of income while making better use of the available land. Farmers say intercropping also benefits the areca nut trees. Irrigation, fertilizer and regular weeding carried out for other crops help improve the overall condition of the orchard and can contribute to better betel nut production.
अलिक राम्रो हुन्छ सुपारी पानीले भिन्न पाउँछ हैन मलदल गरिन्छ धेरै राम्रो हुन्छ.
However, farmers continue to face challenges in the market. Fluctuating prices, increased imports of foreign nuts, and restrictions on exports have created uncertainty for producers.
विदेशी सुपारी यहाँको सुपारीलाई चाहिँ पन्साएर यहाँको सुपारीलाई तिरस्कृत गरेर अथवा यहाँको सुपारीलाई कुनै मूल्याङ्कन नगरिकन विदेशी सुपारी नै आयात गर्नुपर्ने राज्यको जुन नीति छ यो नीतिले हामीलाई अत्यन्तै धेरै अप्ठ्यारो बनाएको छ.
With betel nut cultivation expanding across Jhapa, farmers now see greater potential to develop orchards into multi-crop production areas. They say that better processing, branding, market access and export opportunities can help increase the value of their produce and provide farmers with multiple sources of income from the same land.
International news lined up next. For now, a short recap of the headlines. Government raises pay grants for teachers and school staff. Cabinet approves UN Assembly delegation and Japanese grant. Lawmakers demand stronger public service. Upper House forwards airline liability bill. RSP lawmakers question government performance. World to mark Mosquito Day. Mosquito-borne diseases pose growing health risk in Nepal. Authorities urge for elimination of breeding sites. US President Trump denies ongoing talks with Iran amid rising tensions. Iran keeps straight as US maintains blockade. Pakistan government challenges order to move former PM Imran Khan. Law minister rejects Supreme Court direction for hospital transfer. And the flame for 2026 Asian Games torch relay lit in Tokyo. The 20th Asian Games to officially open in Nagoya on September 19th. At least 23 people have been killed in a head-on collision between a bus carrying medical patient and a truck in southern Brazil. The crash occurred early Wednesday in Ipiranga municipality in Paraná state after the truck crossed into a bus's lane. The truck driver was also among those killed, while authorities have not yet released details about other possible occupants. The Israeli military has confirmed for the first time that its forces may have opened fire on a vehicle carrying 5-year-old Hind Rajab and 6 members of her family in Gaza City in January 2024. Hind initially survived the attack but was later found dead alongside her relatives. She has spoken for hours with Palestinian Red Crescent paramedics while waiting for rescue, but an ambulance sent to reach her was also attacked, killing 2 paramedics. The Israeli Defense Forces initially denied having troops in the area, but later acknowledged military operations nearby. Following a review, the IDF has now announced a criminal investigation into alleged failures surrounding the ambulance's movement. Hind's death sparked international condemnation and was later referenced in a UN investigation alleging possible war crimes, which Israel denies. Business news lined up next. For now, a short breather.
The United Arab Emirates UAE has suspended all trade, commercial exchanges and financial transactions with Iran until further notice in the latest escalation between the two Gulf neighbors. Abu Dhabi cited regional escalation and threats to peace and security after reporting the 2 ballistic missiles and accusing Tehran of targeting maritime traffic. The decision is significant for the regional economy because the UAE has historically been a major trading and commercial hub for Iran with extensive business links despite years of U.S. sanctions on Tehran. The announcement also rattled UAE financial markets, with Abu Dhabi's main stock index falling 0.9% and Dubai's index declining 0.2% on Wednesday. U.S. President Donald Trump has paused the planned rollout of new 50% tariffs on some Canadian goods for 3 days, just hours before the duties were due to take effect. Trump said the delay followed urgent talks with Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney and was based on the two countries having reached a deal pending final documents. The proposed tariffs target about $20 billion worth of Canadian exports, including products such as wine, hockey sticks, and cement, while Canada's auto, steel, lumber, and aluminum sectors already face separate U.S. tariffs. The U.S. Trade Representative's office says the emerging agreement is expected to include broader market access for American goods, economic security commitments, and digital trade alignment. The tariff dispute comes as Washington and Ottawa negotiate the renewal of the U.S.-Mexico-Canada trade agreement, making the 3-day pause a key window for both sides to finalize a broader trade deal.
Time now for the sports update. The new English Premier League season begins Friday with defending champions Arsenal starting their title defence against newly promoted Coventry City. Arsenal won the league last season after a 22-year wait and will host Coventry in the opening match. Manchester City, Liverpool, Chelsea and Manchester United are also beginning the campaign with new managers and significant squad changes. Coventry City, Ipswich Town and Hull City have returned to the top flight and will target survival. The new season will also introduce several rule changes aimed at reducing time wasting, including 5-second limits for throw-ins and goal kicks, longer injury treatment periods off the pitch, and expanded VAR powers. Now to the weather updates, first from Nepal and then across the world. This brings us to the end of this edition, but before we say goodbye, here's a quick reminder of our top stories. Government raises pay grants for teachers and school staff. Cabinet approves UN Assembly delegation and Japanese grant. Lawmakers demand stronger public services. Upper House forward airline liability bill. RSP lawmakers question government performance. World to mark Mosquito Day. Mosquito-borne diseases pose growing health risk in Nepal. Authorities urge for elimination of breeding sites. U.S. President Trump denies ongoing talks with Iran amid rising tensions. Iran keeps Strait of Hormuz closed as U.S. maintains blockade. Pakistan government challenges order to move former PM Imran Khan. Law minister rejects Supreme Court directions for hospital transfer. And the flame for 2026 Asian Games torch relay lit in Tokyo. The 20th Asian Games to officially open in Nagoya on September 19. That's the end of this edition of NTV World News Hour. Do join us through our social media and get the latest updates from our official website, nepaltelevision.com. I'm Suveksha Rajak and thank you for staying with us. Good night.